All right, everybody. Welcome back to Cool Beans Hot Stuff. This is my new Twitch channel that I started about 3 weeks ago. This is my third week doing it. This will be my third Wednesday. Every Wednesday, I do Wildlife Wednesdays, which is usually, mostly, I swear, 99% of the time, about wildlife. Obviously, Wildlife Wednesday, right? Pretty self explanatory. We cover some kind of topic about wildlife, nature, something weather related, whatever it is, right? I got some really cool streams coming up that I've been doing some research on for like unexplainable natural phenomenon. Pretty neat stuff there. Some like space orientated stuff, but mostly like Mother Earth, animals, things like that, right? Whew, caught that burp. I burped so much. I just heard back from my parents. They watched my streams for the first time and they're like, it's great. You just burp so much. So I'm working harder on that burp button, Mom. Um, or that mute button. Now I need to work on the coughs too, catching those. So, anyways, yeah, it's pretty self explanatory, right? We cover wildlife. Um, Today, it's still wildlife. Today we're going to be covering the oddest foods from around the world. Obviously, if you didn't see the title to the video, because most of the people who see this, I think, will be seeing it on my VODs on Twitch or on YouTube. So if you're watching it live, thank you for tuning in. I'm sure my cutie pie is there somewhere. Making dinner, so this will be a good accompaniment to your dinner tonight, hot stuff. Talking about really weird foods people eat. Um, but if you're watching this on YouTube, then thanks for chilling. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe if you like the content and check back for more content. I release 5 videos a week. And if you like live videos, come check me out on my Twitch channel. It would be nice to have somebody to sit in chat with in the comment section while I'm going over this. That was kind of the point of doing it live, right? But in my experience, most people who like YouTube aren't huge Twitch fans. So if you're watching me on YouTube, that's perfectly fine. Thanks for tuning in and checking the show out. But you probably read the title of the video, wherever you're finding it. And it said oddest foods from around the world. And that doesn't seem like it has a whole lot to do with wildlife. And, that's because it doesn't. I'll just be honest with you. It really doesn't. I don't know exactly what the fuck I was smoking when I decided to make this topic. But I did. I smoked something and then I thought, Eureka, this is brilliant. And then I just kind of went with it because I did the research on the topic and it was actually kind of fun. This was an entertaining topic to speak about. And that is kind of what I wanted to do with my Twitch channel, was just read about things that I thought were interesting and entertaining. So we're going with it. And I think my best explanation that I got is, well, like all the foods these people are eating were wildlife at some point before they got cooked. So that's the best I got for you. So that's going to be our Wildlife Wednesday. It is an odd man out. Most Wednesdays, I do try to shoot for actual wildlife orientated topics. Once a month, I'll do a cryptozoology topic, which is, something about like Bigfoot or Loch Ness, something like that. If you like stuff like that, then check out my video on the Jabal Fofi, the giant spider. We go over all the research for cryptid giant spiders, all the videos that they have collected about it, and first account stories, things like that. So, yeah, go check that video out. I usually do a cryptozoology Wednesday once every month. And then I usually try to do a Wednesday on some kind of newly discovered animal, then usually a Wednesday that's more like nature orientated, and then a Wednesday that is more uh, prehistoric type stuff, kind of like my prehistoric Wednesdays there. What did I do last Wednesday? I'm trying to remember what I did carnivorous plants. That's right. I did a whole thing on carnivorous plants. If you like plants, if you've ever wanted to grow carnivorous plants, there's some information in that video about that, but it goes over all of my favorite carnivorous plants, and that one even dives into a couple different cryptid carnivorous plants too. So anywho, yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it, because I actually did have a lot of dishes. I couldn't obviously pick a dish from everywhere in the world, because the setup that I had for this stream was I wanted to give you guys a list of dishes. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 really oddball things that people eat from various different countries. We got Japan, Italy, we got England, but this one's kind of England's kind of everywhere. And then we got USA, my personal favorite from my home state of Wyoming. Then we got Canada in there, England again, and the US again. Some Midwest goodies on there that'll make you kind of squirm. And so, yeah, I figured I would go through, introduce you guys to this oddball food, and then give you a recipe on how you can cook it yourself at home if you ever have the balls. So, speaking of balls, we're going to be talking about balls a lot today, believe it or not. So, let's go ahead and jump right into it. The odd foods around the world. We're starting with our first one here. The strangest food I ever ate, shirako. So this is Japan right here, okay, in case you didn't notice. So let's go ahead and read what shirako is. So, I consider myself a pretty adventurous eater. I'm nowhere near the level of Anthony Bourdain and Andrew Zimmerman, but I'm willing to experience strange new culinary delicacies more than most people I know. I love those guys, by the way. That's probably what incited me to do this video. I used to watch Anthony Bourdain and Andrew Zimmerman when I was a kid and watch them eat bugs and durian fruits and all that crazy shit. So maybe that's why I felt like I needed to make this stream, getting it out of my system. It's that inner Anthony Bourdain in me coming out. My parents always encouraged me to try new foods. When I was 3, I had my first taste of escargot, and when I was 6, I had my first linguine with baby squid and marinara sauce. I don't know if that's super adventurous, but I mean, escargot, right? Like that's, it's just snails. I mean, that's an odd thing to say. It's just snails. Who eat snails? Well, a lot of people do. Specifically in France, they do. But I know a lot of people who eat escargot. My mom loves escargot, and it is weird. I give her a lot of shit for that. I say, you're pretty fucking weird. You eat snails. Anyway, I was not a fussy eater as a child. The only vegetable I didn't like was sweet potatoes. That's weird. That's crazy. You'll eat escargot, but you won't eat sweet potatoes. That's insane. Even as an adult, I still don't like them, but that's okay since I eat just about any other vegetable. I've eaten some unique foods in my lifetime, some intentionally and some accidentally. While backpacking in Eastern Europe one year, I was in Budapest and decided I wanted some Hungarian food. I wandered around until I found a Hungarian restaurant that looked interesting. They did not have an English menu, but the menu had pictures on it. I pointed at a dish that appeared to be cubed chunks of beef with potatoes, onions, and green peas. They brought it out, and as I took a bite into the beef, there was something about the texture that just wasn't right. It was spongy and a little chewy. I concluded it must have been an organ of some kind. Oh, that's it. That was that was that story. He ate an organ. Well, that's really cool, bro. Cool story, you ate an organ. I was also introduced to sweetbreads by accident. Some friends shared an appetizer at an Argentinian restaurant in Los Angeles that looked like thin slices of grilled veal scallopini served with lemon wedges. As it turned out, this was sweetbreads. They were quite delicious. I don't know, I guess, what sweetbreads is, but it sounds awesome. The word sweetbread sounds fucking delicious, honestly. I've been dieting lately, so, some of these things might seem really weird, but I would probably eat them at this moment. I've also had moose, kangaroo, caribou, rabbit, pigeon, bear, bee larva. Ooh, okay, that's a weird one. Crickets, worms, alligator, snake, jellyfish, sea urchin, sea cucumber, skate, durian, gorgonzola pear ice cream. That's interesting, huh? Gorgonzola pear ice cream. Steak tartare. I'm pretty sure that's just raw steak, right? That's just raw beef. Horse meat, fugu, the poisonous Japanese blowfish, stinky tofu. Ooh, I've heard that's pretty hardcore. Natto, and blood sausage. Well, spoiler alert, we're going to get into at least one of those later in the stream. I've even had the Gangsta Hot Pot murder style dish at Spices 3, a Taiwanese restaurant in San Francisco, which is a simmering, spicy, messy combination of offal and animal parts, stinky tofu, blood, noodles, and some vegetables. Ooh, that don't sound very good. Me and the cutie pie were just in San Francisco a while back. Not just in. At this point, I think it's probably closer to a year ago. But last year we went to San Francisco, and we did not go there, and I did not eat stinky tofu and offal. But for me, the strangest thing out of all of these delicacies is shiraku. Okay, this writer is kind of bearing the lead on us. Who wrote this? Catherine Hill. Kind of bearing the lead there, Catherine. But that's okay. We're finally to it. Shirako. I was traveling in Kanazawa, a wonderful small town on the sea of the Japan coast, and one evening I found a small sushi bar to have dinner in. The owners, a sweet middle aged married couple, spoke a little bit of English, and upon learning I was traveling solo, invited me to their house for dinner the following evening. They'd promised to make me a special Japanese dish, so I was excited. When I arrived, we had a beer and some grilled squid, and then they brought out the special Japanese dish. I looked at it and it was soft, cluster like, white, creamy blob that I didn't recognize. They said the name of it, which I didn't quite catch, and said it comes from a fish. But communication issues prevented them from giving more detailed explanation. Was it communication issues, or were they just like, oh, we don't know how to say that in English, so tough luck? And they're over there snickering, right? It didn't look very appetizing, and the added mystery added some fear, but I mentally prepared myself. After all, I was a guest in their home, and it would have been rude for me to refuse. It was not my favorite. The texture didn't sit very well with me, and neither did the taste. The rest of the meal was delicious, and I thanked them for a pleasant evening, and they wished me good travels. On the bullet train back to Tokyo, I sat next to a Japanese woman who spoke English. We spent most of the trip talking about the place that I'd visited and the things I'd experienced. Then I showed her a picture of the strange white fish part and asked her what it was. Ah, shiraku, she said. Shirako, she said. Then she said it was fish sperm. That's right. That's what you just looked at. That's a whole plate of fish sperm right there. There it is. So if you ever wondered what a fish's sperm looks like, you no longer have to wonder. So, back down to the fish sperm lady. When I got to Tokyo and had an internet connection again, I Googled shirako and read up on it. Shirako is the milt or sperm sacs of male cod. It's served in both raw and cooked form in restaurants all over Japan, but many Japanese consider it an acquired taste. I wonder why. The word shirako means white children. That's right. So the other name of this dish is white children, which I think that's fucking hilarious. And it is in season in the winter. It's also called kiku and taki. It's kind of funny when I think about it. In my mind, caviar is appetizing, and caviar is the eggs of a female fish. But sperm sacs, the eggs of a male fish, doesn't work in my mind. Yeah, probably not. I'm going to go ahead and agree with that. I'm not a huge caviar fan myself, personally. I did kind of what I'll eat anything you put before me so long as you join me. Oh, and don't tell me what it is until I've eaten. Yeah, see, I wouldn't have no problem trying out somebody else's dish, right, in their house, especially if they invited you to eat. I'd be like, oh, yeah, no, sure, I'll give it a shot. But if they told me what it was beforehand, I'd probably say no. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so yeah, it is fish sperm. That's the first thing we're going to talk about, right? This is already going to be, you can tell it's an exciting stream, right? We're already on our way with fish sperm. So, let's read a little bit more about shirako, about how they cook it, and what it tastes like. So, what does milt or shirako taste like? Milt is a seminal fluid of a fish and amphibious animals, which is soft and creamy with a slightly fishy taste. Well, if that doesn't make you feel hungry, I don't know what will. It can be compared to pork brains, but has a more delicate and light texture that melts in your mouth. Oh, well, that's good because we all know what pork brains looks and tastes and feels like. So, some compare the texture to custard, but with a slight oceanic taste, which I feel like is just a polite way of saying it's super fishy. The unique appearance can easily be identified, but is most well known for its rich and creamy umami taste. I don't know what umami taste means, but all right, if you say so. Whilst the idea of eating milt is not that popular, it is prepared in numerous ways and enjoyed in many cuisines across the world. Many cuisines. So where is it eaten? Oh, look at that. In Sicily, there is a famous pasta dish that uses fish sperm known as latum. In Russian cuisine, it is pickled, known as moloka, which is similar to their traditional dish of pickled herring. In British cuisine, it is fried with butter and spread on toast. The idea of eating milt is still bizarre and unknown to many around the world, despite it having been around for centuries. Many other reproductive parts are consumed, such as caviar, and milt is no different. In Japanese cuisine and in other Southeast Asian countries such as Singapore, the cod milt, also known as shirako, is a delicacy and is consumed throughout the nation. However, shiraku can also be defined as the testes of fish and shellfish such as blowfish, salmon, and squid. All right. Well, since it's milt, it can only be taken from the male fish and shellfish. Well, we didn't need you to tell us that, but let's see here. I believe this is, yep. So, how do you prepare it? Well, let me tell you, in case you were super excited to try yourself some fish sperm, I'm going to show you how to cook it. So, To eat milt, which is Scirocco, safely, it needs to be carefully prepared. Preparation varies from fish to fish. However, for Scirocco, which is most commonly eaten, it is as follows. Fill a bowl with cold water and gently wash the milt. That is the sperm sacs. Cut into bite-sized pieces. How big are these fish's sperm sacs? Okay. Well, however big they are, some of these fish just might be locked and loaded and ready to go for their female fish friends, so just make sure you cut them into small bites. Fill the bowl with salt water and rub gently to remove any slimeliness. Well, that's always a good thing to see. If that is a main part of your uh, directions for your recipe, is make sure you wash off all the sliminess, I'm already concerned about how this is going to taste. Step 4, rinse the milk under running cold water and then drain. And 5, boil for about 30 to 40 seconds and place in ice water to stop the cooking process. And that's it. That's the simplest way to cook it. This is what it looks like when it's store-bought. Doesn't that look appetizing? I wonder who was the fella who looked at that and said, yep, I'm going to put that right in my mouth, baby. And there is the cooked Scirocco, which, to be honest, doesn't look nearly as bad. If you didn't know what it was, you would kind of be like, okay, like maybe it looks like some kind of like pasta or something, you know? So there's different ways to eat it. The most common one, though, is Scirocco ponzu, okay? So you can cook the Scirocco ponzu essentially the way that we just read. One of the most common ways to eat Scirocco in Japan is with ponzu sauce. So you essentially cook it the way that I just described. You would boil it for 30 to 40 seconds, and then you would eat it with ponzu sauce, a citrusy soy sauce. The Scirocco is served raw in a small bowl sprinkled with green onions and topped with the ponzu sauce. Never mind, they eat it full ass raw. They just take the sperm right out of that poor boy and just slurp it down with ponzu sauce. It is commonly served with shiso and grated daikon. The Scirocco has a mild, creamy texture with a fresh oceanic taste. They keep saying that, and I don't know if that's supposed to make me want to eat it. Creamy texture with oceanic taste. You know, if they were talking about anything else, I'd probably be down, but when you're talking about sperm, it just doesn't make me feel any better about it. It balances perfectly with the acidic and salty ponzu sauce, which cuts through that creaminess. They also eat it in sushi. All right, that's a common way. They eat it tempura style. Now, if I had to do this, that would be the way I do it, which, you know, to be honest, like I always say, right? Try everything once, twice if you like it, all right? I'm not a very closed-minded person. I like to poke a little bit of fun, specifically at people who eat sperm, but, you know, realistically, you know, a lot of us enjoy eating different kinds of sperm, not fish sperm. So, you know, it's not that big of a deal, right? It's like, well, you know, people eat even crazier shit than this, as we will see. This is just my first slide, mind you, all right? So, you know, it gets a little bit crazier, okay? So, anyways, you know, if I had to eat fish sperm, this is probably how I would do it, right? Tempura style. I enjoy tempura, more specifically shrimp tempura, which is a little bit more on the less adventurous side, I'll admit. But, you know, if I'm going to eat anything that comes out of a ball sack, tempura or fried is how I'm going to go about it, man. Okay. They also do hot pot. Oh, that's interesting. Me and the cutie pie, we love hot pot. So we go hot potting all the time. We tend to leave the sperm out of our pot hots, usually on most occasions, but that's what it would look like if you wanted to throw some fish sperm into your hot pot. That's it right there. Scirocco hot pot seared milts. Scirocco is lightly covered in seasoned flour and simply fried in oil. Oh, see, that might not be so bad. I mean, I don't know. You look at that picture. It's still like, ugh, just doesn't. It looks, I guess, creamy. It looks chunky. It looks kind of snotty. Spermy, maybe, might be the word. Simply fried in oil. The flour helps add texture and a slight firmness to the Scirocco, which becomes deliciously creamy and sweet when cooked. I don't know if I believe you, but in Japan, it is common to add soy sauce while frying to add further umami. Okay, all right. Well, there you have it. Andy Chang, up for the win. Gives you all you need to know about Scirocco. So, if you're interested, there's a few different ways you can try it. The main way of cooking it is with ponzu sauce. We gave you the recipe right here. Pretty simple. I mean, as far as cooking things go, it doesn't get much easier than that, right? Getting it is probably a little bit more difficult. I don't know too many places where you're going to get Scirocco. I had a very funny video, though, before we move on to the next crazy dish. I had a pretty entertaining video I wanted to watch here on YouTube. And while we're watching this, I'm going to hop over to my YouTube screen. So I'm going to start using this screen from now on whenever we watch YouTube videos. So my face is out of the way of the words. Throw the subtitles on. I eventually will kind of work on this, maybe put like a comment box up here in the corner or something to that effect. I mean, let's be real, nobody's really watching me live right now anyways. I just started 3 weeks ago, so it's just me and Cutie Pie talking in the comment section usually. And who just texted me? Okay. Well, anyways, we'll get to that later. So, yeah, I might put a comment section up here, teeny tiny little baby one, and then maybe like my socials up here at the top. I don't know. We'll see. But I think this will work out a lot better than having my big fat face just glaring at you right here while you're trying to read the words on the bottom of the screen. So we'll see how this goes.
On today's menu, fish nards. Sorry, I mean Shirako.
Romina liked it a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
Across the globe, what's delicious is questionable. Why would you eat that? Excuse me. Shirako, which means white children, is a Japanese delicacy made from the milt of pufferfish, or cod. Don't act surprised. It's just a more delicate way of saying sperm sacs. Nut butter, your baby fish batter. While not generally known for our delicacy, we'll try to keep this classy. Anywho, the creamy, soft cluster is consumed most often during the winter months, which is when most seminal fluids are in season. In the United States, cod milt is harvested by handsome fishermen at the peak of maturity in December. Once harvested, most of it is exported to Japan because there's a bigger market there. We might depend on China and Japan to make everything else, but
the graphics in this just fucking kill me, man. It's really the whole reason why you're watching this is that sperm shot from the USA over to Japan. That was golden, man.
we got them by the balls when it comes to fish semen. To prepare the Shirako, the milt is removed in its entirety from the fish. It is slippery, white, and bears a striking resemblance to brain, but becomes firmer if cooked. It can be cooked in a number of different ways, from fried to make a creamy tempura or boiled to make a Shirako ponzu, a traditional dish that is buttery and melts in your mouth with a nice finish.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Everybody keeps saying that. I still am not convinced, so.
Yes, but why would you eat that? The eggs, or roe of underwater creatures, are consumed in Europe, Asia, North America, South America, and Oceania. While Shirako, or milt, is less widely noshed on, the Japanese are among those who prize it. It's also high in protein and contains no cholesterol or saturated fat. In fact, those who enjoy it, like my ex, report a sweet, slightly briny taste. But that's what she said about Steve, Rick, and Kevin, and Ron, and Charles. I mean, Charles, come on! Whatever, let's feed you.
That's too funny.
Oh, it splattered on me. Hi, Katie.
That looks really gross. Oh, no,
not
no.
Oh, I hate this.
What is it?
It's Shirako.
What is that? What language is that?
Japanese. You're not gonna get it.
No, probably not.
Do you want to spit it out?
It's like 50 Shades of Georgia over here.
Kinda like it. Okay, I like it. Is that weird?
Do you really?
Yeah.
Romina liked it a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
It's like maybe like tuna that is on the verge of going bad. Cat food.
It kind of does.
Pastrami's
food.
nicer cousin.
It just tastes like tuna fish.
Yeah. Romina said it was kind of buttery.
Buttery?
Very soft,
It smells terrible.
buttery.
Because it has a more of a gelatinous. It's just more. Oh, come on, you guys are dicks.
It doesn't smell that great, but the texture is wonderful. Is there crap all over me?
Gelatinous tuna fish, I would say.
I can't hear him.
Making me nervous if they won't tell us.
Should I look it up?
I feel like this video is just a sexual assault charge waiting to happen. He's boinking him in the face and smearing white shit on him. I told you this video was awesome.
Why don't you Google it? Because we're on YouTube. Wikipedia.
Shirako.
Genitalia. Sperm.
Yes, I see. It's sperm.
These are all good keywords that I like to hear when I'm eating food.
Everyone get out.
My job is not to make connections, merely to present facts.
I swallowed.
Okay.
Gross, Mike.
Throw up, Mike.
This is a
Fucking
class
Mike.
show.
Next week's our last episode.
Yo.
Yo! Next week is the last Why Would You Eat That for a Good Long Time? Watch as everyone will.
That's a bummer. That's a funny show. The channel, that YouTube channel, by the way, is called Tasted. They got a pretty decent sized YouTube channel, 388,000 subscribers. They had some pretty funny videos though, man. These guys and gals are pretty fucking hilarious. So if you really enjoy cooking orientated stuff and with a little bit of humor, then go check them out. Okay, so you've now heard about Shirako. Let's kind of swap the screens over here. All right, so you now know what Shirako is, and you're welcome for that. Now we're going to get into something that is even worse. Once you dive into this next one, you're going to be pretty excited to be eating fish sperm, let me tell you. So, here we go. I know you enjoy watching me, but let's get back to the screen. Okay, Kazu Marzu, the world's most dangerous cheese. So there's the Kazu Marzu. Kasu Marzu. I think sometimes it's pronounced, they spell it with a T right here, so it's Kazu Marzu. It changes depending on who's talking about it. You know, I mean, it looks weird. It looks gross. You know, this really, it kind of looks disturbing because it looks like somebody dived into it and ripped it all up, and you're kind of like eating whatever is left over, right? It looks like it's almost maybe rotten, kind of. Oh, and it gets so much worse than that. Trust me, I promise you. Okay. The Italian island of Sardinia sits in the middle of the Tyrrhenian Sea, gazing at Italy from a distance, surrounded by an 1,849-kilometer coastline of white sandy beaches and emerald waters. The island's inland landscape rapidly rises to form hills and impervious mountains. Sounds nice. Sounds like a vacation. And it is within these edgy curves that shepherds produce Kazu Marzu, a maggot-infested cheese that in 2009 the Guinness World Record proclaimed was the world's most dangerous cheese. Yep, you heard that. A maggot-infested cheese. And if you thought that picture was disturbing, we're going to get a close-up of this. Cheese skipperflies. Scientific name I don't know how to pronounce. Lay their eggs in cracks that form in cheese, usually Fiora Sardo, the island's salty pecorino cheese. Salty pecorino is good. I will eat salty pecorino, minus the maggots. Maggots hatch, making their way through the paste, digesting proteins in the process, and transforming the product into a soft, creamy cheese. Now, would anybody like to guess how they transform the product? Well, they poop it out. That's what they're doing. They're eating the cheese and then pooping the cheese out. That's about the only thing maggots can really can do, is eat and poop. Then the cheesemonger cracks open the top, which is almost untouched by maggots, to scoop out a spoonful of the creamy delicacy. It's not a moment for the faint-hearted. At this point, the grubs inside begin to writhe frantically. Yeah, that means that the maggots are in there writhing around. It gets worse. Some locals spin the cheese through a centrifuge to merge the maggots with the cheese. Others like it au naturel. They open their mouths and eat everything. And I can't decide which one of those is worse. To spin it in a centrifuge so that the maggots kind of die and blend in with the cheese, right? It kind of liquefies them into the cheese. So you're eating liquefied maggots and cheese, or you just gulp down maggots, living maggots with cheese in them. I think the living one might be a little bit worse, and we'll get into a minute why. If you are able to overcome the understandable disgust, marzu has a flavor that is intense, with reminders of the Mediterranean pastures, and spicy with an aftertaste that stays for hours. Some say it's an aphrodisiac. Well, some say. Those some are probably in an insane asylum somewhere. Don't give a fuck how hard that makes your dick. I'm not eating it. Others say that it could be dangerous for human health, as maggots could survive the bite and create myiasis, microperforations in your intestines. But so far, no such case has been linked to Kazumatsu. So this is a thing, myiasis. Eating living things can cause myiasis. What essentially happens is your stomach acid does not dissolve the living thing, and then as it's traveling through your intestines, which are relatively small, especially the small intestines, hence why they call it the small intestines. It isn't just diameter, it's also a lot, not nearly as long as your long intestines, but your short intestines go through it, start bouncing around in there, and can rip it. But again, like they said, so far that hasn't happened with Katsumarzu. The cheese is banned from commercial sale nonetheless, but Sardinians have been eating it, jumping grubs included, for centuries. The maggot infestation is the spell and delight of this cheese, says Paulo Salinas, a 29-year-old Sardinian gastronome. I don't know what a gastronome is, but kind of a cool name. Something to do with cheese. He says some Sardinians cringe at the thought of Kazumatsu, but others raised on a lifetime of salty pecorino unabashedly love its strong flavors. Some shepherds see the cheese as a unique personal pleasure, something that just a few elects can try. Well, it's good that they're keeping it to themselves, though, right? When tourists visit Sardinia, they usually wind up in a restaurant that serves porcedu sardu, a slowly roasted suckling piglet. That would probably be good. I'm not opposed to eating piglets. Baby pigs, I mean, look, baby pigs are cute, and as long as they ain't eating my cute little baby piglet, I'll eat the shit out of it, yeah. They visit bakers who sell pain curacao, a traditional paper-thin flatbread, and meet shepherds who produce fiore sardo, the island pecorino cheese. See, I would try all of that. Yes, if you are adventurous enough, it is possible to find the Kazumatsu. It shouldn't be seen as a weird attraction, but a product that keeps alive an ancient tradition and hints at what the future of food might look like. I don't exactly know what that means, the future of food. But yeah, hey, nonetheless, all of these dishes, right? A lot of them are tradition. The Shirako, we didn't read. It didn't give us enough. I didn't pull up a webpage giving us the history of fish sperm, all right? Sue me. But I would imagine that is probably a traditional dish in Japan, as is all of the dishes that we're going to cover today. They're all traditional dishes that have a cultural relevance. And I can speak to at least one of them because I grew up in one of those cultures. So not the one that eats the fish sperm or the one that eats maggot-infested cheese, thank God. But there is one goofy one on here that I do eat. And there's a goofy one on here that my cutie pie eats, which is why I chose that one too. But so yeah, they do have cultural relevance. A lot of these dishes do, they're still fair game to poke a little bit of fun at, but yeah, for, tradition is tradition, man. That's why, it's nothing wrong with that, right? More power to them. Let them enjoy their tradition. I'm just not putting it in my mouth. That's all. Okay. So let's see how much longer this gets pretty long. Yeah. We just kind of wanted to jump into, ooh, look at that. Oh, that's right. Okay, so this is why they're talking about the food of the future, why they go into that. We're getting into the whole, you should eat Z-bugs and be happy. Ooh. That's what they're getting at here, right? The future of food is eating insects, according to CNN. I don't know if anybody is surprised to see that coming, though. I'm pretty sure they've been writing about that for the last 6 years. Anyway, let's actually read a little more about Kazumarzu, how they make it, the process of making Kazumarzu. There was another interesting fact about this cheese that we didn't go over. If it's not in this particular... Oh, you know what? If it's not in this particular video, I have a video up here that it is in. So... Hold on a second. I hope I saved that video. Oh, yep. Okay, we passed the video. So this I thought was pretty funny. Let's just bring us back to CNN for a moment. Here we go. Gordon Ramsay trying Kazumatsu. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's just read a little bit more about the Kazumatsu, and then we'll see how Gordon Ramsay likes his maggot cheese. The Kazumatsu or Kazumarzu, see, like I told you, they pronounce it two different ways. I am prepared for today. Yesterday, I did a stream on a French serial killer and realized about halfway through the stream that I don't know how the fuck to say anything in French, and just massacred the names of every single town and city and person and fucking anything that was in that story that was in French. I pretty much destroyed it. And realized about halfway through the stream I had no fucking idea what I was doing. So I came prepared today. I even brought with me a YouTube page specifically for pronunciations in case, because there's a couple that we'll have to run into that I want to make sure I'm saying right. So, anyways, this is sheep cheese from Sardinia in Italy. We know this. The cheese is famous for being maggot cheese or grub cheese. At first sight, it doesn't look tasty. No, there's nothing about that right there that looks even remotely appetizing. I mean, the sperm looked way better than that, right? I told you, it gets a little bit worse as we go. This one I think is probably the worst, right? But it is, however, it doesn't look tasty, but it is, however, widely talked about around the world. People are very curious about it, and we understand them. A dangerous cheese, an untraceable cheese, a banned cheese. Find out all about the maggot cheese. So, the first question that comes to mind is Kazu Marzu really rotten? If you were to take a microscope and analyze cheese from the inside, you would see that it is indeed a living product. Actually, for the affinage of a cheese, a multitude of microorganisms are at work. Cheese is alive. That is true. When you eat cheese, you are eating something. It's essentially something filled with microorganisms. I forget what the term is, but like yogurt. Same thing with yogurt. We could describe the living beings in the cheese one by one, but it would take too long. However, in the case of this Italian cheese, the living aspect can be seen with the bare eye. You no longer need a microscope. So yes, the Kazu Marzu does contain maggots inside, which are used for its affinage. So that is an important difference I want to make a note of. There's a huge difference between eating fucking mozzarella or yogurt and not being able to see the organisms that you're eating, and having them jump out and slap you in the face. That's a big difference. So is this cheese dangerous, right? Because we've had a couple of people say it's dangerous. We kind of went over the lacerations in the intestines. Why do they say that, though? The cheese with maggots is forbidden to be sold, not only in the US, but also in the entire European Union. In fact, it is considered potentially dangerous to your health. The larva present in the cheese can, when disturbed, jump up to 15 centimeters. That's right. These little things can fucking bloop, 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 right in the air, right? So right when you're eating, they're just bouncing right up, hitting you in the face. This cheese is considered potentially dangerous due to health because if the ingested maggots are not destroyed by the gastric juices, they can cause very serious lesions in the intestines. If this cheese is still made by hand, it is so strong that those who enjoy it do not make many disciples. Do not make many disciples. Please note that if you cross the road of another cheese that moves by itself on the outside of the cheese, this is not normal. This is probably due to a packaging defect, not cool enough, not protected. Flies have come to lay eggs. Oh, okay. Sure. So this is the only cheese that it's okay if it moves, apparently. All other moving cheeses, not a good thing. Most would say that about this cheese by itself. It's moving. I'm probably not going to eat it, right? That would be my first thought. Like I said, try everything once, twice if you like it. I'm going to break that general rule right here, though. I'm not eating any maggot cheese anytime soon, bro. You can't make me. So let's go over that cheese, that taste again of this cheese. Have we piqued your curiosity? Would you like to know what this sheep cheese find with larvae tastes like? Well, according to our experts, the taste of Kazu Marzu is close to the strong cheese of Lyon, a big city in France, but stronger because it is a sheep cheese. That doesn't help me at all. I don't know how many people have eaten the strong cheese of Lyon, but that's not helpful. Some people describe it as spicy or hot. Its smell appears to be very strong, very persistent. That's always a good indication, right? Very strong smell, very persistent. Interesting that they call it spicy, though. So, production of Kazu Marzu step by step. This formaggio, which is cheese in Italian, is made from sheep milk that is boiled at 35 degrees Celsius. Once the rennet is added, the liquid begins to coagulate. It takes about 25 minutes before obtaining curdled milk. Then this milk is put into molds and 24 hours later into the brine. The cheese is then left in the open air, which explains why flies come and lay eggs inside. The affinage lasts a minimum of 15 days to obtain a creamy casu marzu, as aficionados in Sardinia or Corsica like it. Corsica. Ooh, you can see the maggots. Look at all that. Look at them little suckers in their creamy casu marzu. Oof. Has casu marzu caused anyone's death? According to various experts who have alerted consumers, casu marzu and its living larvae can cause many dangerous symptoms. When settling into the intestines, the maggots can eventually create painful and dangerous lesions. Here are some of the symptoms we can feel after eating this maggot cheese: nausea, vomiting attacks, acute abdominal pain, bloody diarrhea. As far as we know, the casu marzu never caused anyone's death. However, it is difficult to be sire as this cheese dates back to ancient times. Now, realistically, I highly doubt that the majority of people end up feeling any of these things when they eat the cheese. Otherwise, I don't imagine why anybody would eat the cheese. It's just possible things that would happen if you had lesions in your intestines, right? So there's a wonderful picture for you. Hopefully you're not in the middle of your dinner. Let's see what Gordon thinks about this.
Good to see you.
Hi, Gordon. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
And I'm going to swap over to YouTube screen.
There's been maggots.
Right, no, actually, there's nothing scary about the maggots at all.
After the first time you tasted it, how long until you get a clean bill of health, until you pass from a doctor?
Well, I don't know, but I'll be coming back to you. I'll tell you, when my gut falls out one morning, you know, the thing, I will come straight back to you. But the thing is, the long-term effects will not be known for a year.
So oh, really? A year?
Or something like that. You know, because they're going to start laying eggs, they're going to have a family, they're going to build a home.
Caused a lot of controversy, hasn't it?
Caused tons of controversy, but it is literally like caviar, a mix of caviar, fragua. It's a huge delicacy.
I'm dying to taste it, yeah? Jose!
Oh, you've got...
thanks, Doc.
You've got some.
Yes. Oh, Jesus, right.
Get back, everyone.
Okay. Go on.
Now, where are they? You see them here? He's desperately trying to bury back in.
Take a slice or a spoon?
Spoon. And this is the bit you want here. The maggots are in there. Let's go. Cheers.
Oh, fuck. Really?
Oh, fuck.
It's sour. The aftertaste stays for hours. It has a length that goes on for about 2 days.
Oh, shit.
That is a fly. That's the fly that lays the maggots.
The fly.
I would defend this to the death, basically.
Serious?
I mean, it's not. I wouldn't eat it every day. I wouldn't probably eat it again on the whole. But I understand its place.
Take some home for your wife?
No, she'd hate it.
Your mum?
No, my mum certainly wouldn't. No.
Really good to see you, yes?
Thanks, Gordon.
Yeah, look after yourself.
I will.
Yeah, lots of the family.
Cool.
Take care.
Thanks, Gordon.
Gentlemen.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so that is Gordon Ramsay trying maggot cheese for the first time. Okay, we're going to jump back over here. Thought that was entertaining. Not as funny as watching an office full of people eat fish sperm, but still pretty entertaining, right? Okay, so we're going to move on to our next dish. We've covered fish sperm, shirako, and you folks know how to cook that now in case you're hungry for it, and kazu marzu, which I don't know if we explicitly stated, so I'll go ahead and state it now. The casu marzu is only in Sardinia. Like I said, it's illegal for sale, so you're not going to get any out here. It's a very specific fly that, from the small amount of research I did, you're not likely to get here in the States. If you put cheese out on your deck and let it, rot in the sun, you will get flies. They're not going to be those kind of flies that eat the tiny little maggots. They're going to be regular flies that leave big maggots. And depending where you are in the States, you might get big ass fucking horse flies that lay big ass fucking horse maggots, right? So good luck with that if you want to give it a shot. This is not a health recommendation. I am against you eating maggots, so you do that on your own. Okay, in case any one of you dies from intestine lesions. So next dish up is black pudding, which I'll be honest, and this might seem crazy to say at first to some of you who aren't familiar with black pudding, but this is actually a very common dish. This one isn't actually located anywhere. Everybody in almost every country has their own variation of black pudding, and we'll go over several different variations of it. because it is called something slightly different in each culture, but it is a staple of a lot of different cultures, right? So we covered Japan, we got Italy. Now we're going to go worldwide before we come back to, I think, the US. So what is black pudding? Well, black pudding is a sausage incorporating blood, popular in the British Isles and typically eaten as a breakfast food. So any British people that happen upon this video are probably like, what the fuck? He's talking about black pudding? Like, I eat that all the time. Not saying British people eat black pudding every morning, but yeah, it is a very popular cuisine in the UK. So black pudding has been a recorded item of British cuisine since at least the 1400s, although it is certainly far older. The Odyssey of Homer mentions a sausage filled with fat and blood. The ancient Romans ate a version of it, and Spanish and French counterparts exist. We will get into those here in a second. Black pudding finds a place among the full breakfasts that are typical of the British Isles, alongside fried toasts, eggs, baked beans, bacon, tomato slices, and other food items. It is usually made of pig's blood, onions, and various spices and herbs, such as nutmeg, ginger, and mace, all bound together with barley or more commonly oatmeal, and then stuffed into tripe skins. So the full English breakfast right here usually has blood pudding added in there, which, to be honest, that looks delicious for the most part. You know, the thing that I wouldn't be down to eat on here is the beans. Beans for breakfast is just an odd one by my standards, right? But them eggs, that blood pudding, them tomatoes, that sausage, what is that? Canadian bacon? Ooh, is that more beans? Whatever, but that all looks pretty fucking scrumptious, man. Take them beans out of there and keep the blood sausage, and I'd be down with it. I have had blood sausage, and it is genuinely good. I like it. It's great. My cutie pie has had blood sausage. We'll get into a variation that she really enjoys here in a little bit. But yeah, blood sausage is fucking pretty damn good. If you haven't tried it, I recommend it. I'm going to give you a couple different places where you can order it here in a minute, and then a couple different places that, a couple different recipes for making it yourself. So anyways, the sausages are then boiled or baked, grilled or fried, like you can with all sausages. In some regional variations, cow blood or sheep's blood is used, and some regional recipes call for suet, the hard fat around the kidneys and loins of cattle, sheep, and horses. The result is a dry sausage that is usually eaten in slices or crumbled in or on or in other dishes. It can be used in ice cream. That's really weird. I wasn't expecting to read that. That surprised me. It can be used in ice cream. That's the thing. Okay. The sausage bits resembling chocolate chips, or added to dishes such as bubble and squeak, and mashed potatoes and gravy. Bubble and squeak. Okay, I gotta see what the hell a bubble and squeak is. Bubble and squeak, a common British dish consisting of vegetables, especially potatoes and cabbage. The ingredients are pan-fried and served as a side dish. Bubble and squeak, which dates from the 18th century, originally also included meat, and it was typically made with leftovers from the Sunday roast and eaten the next day. Okay, well, I mean, whatever, it doesn't look bad. Okay, so you can throw that on your bubble and squeak. What is with blood sausage on ice cream, though? This literally just gives us a definition of ice cream. We don't need that. But apparently some people eat it on ice cream. Okay. When used in the creation of a Scotch egg, the result has been called a Manchester egg, where the novelty originated. The blood combined with the spices lends the sausage a flavor that is slightly sweet, a touch metallic, and spicy at once. Yeah, it does have kind of a coppery metallic flavor to it. Scotch egg, in case you didn't know, is a traditional British dish consisting of a shelled, hard-boiled egg that is wrapped in sausage covered in breadcrumbs. Scotch egg is pretty good, too. I've had one of those before also. Black pudding became the subject of some controversy during the year of the Reformation and the rise of various Protestant religious movements. In 1652, Thomas Barlow, who later became an Anglican Bishop of Lincoln, England, pronounced that because Hebrew dietary law prohibits the consumption of blood, Christians should follow suit. Methodists, in particular, shunned it for the same reason. Black pudding figures elsewhere in British history and perhaps apocryphal an apocryphal tale. It is said that in a battle near Manchester during the War of the Roses, the contending forces, out of ammunition, threw black puddings at each other. This event is commemorated today in the annual World Black Pudding Throwing Championships in the town of Ramsbottom. Ramsbottom sounds like the place where they would throw sausages at each other, yeah. Black pudding is considered a generally healthful dish in moderation. Blood provides useful quantities of zinc and iron, yet the dish can't contain high levels of sodium and fat, like a lot of sausages. Before her brief term as Prime Minister, Liz Truss, then the Environment Minister, listed black pudding among other must-eat British foods. For all that, many Britons, especially younger ones, exclude it from their diets. I'm not sure why that is, but it's pretty good. It's delicious. Okay, so that's blood pudding in a nutshell. Blood pudding is really just blood sausage. Blood sausage is the more commonly used vernacular across the world, but this is black pudding is what the British call it. Okay, so let's move on to Blutwurst, the holy grail of blood sausage. Blutwurst is blood sausage in German, and this is a place where you could buy some German Blutwurst. Right? Tell me that doesn't look tasty. That looks perfectly tasty to me, right? A nutritional powerhouse from Old World Germany, Schaller and Weber Blutwurst is still made to the specifications of Ferdinand Schaller's recipe. It is a simple blend of pork with a touch of beef and black pepper for seasoning. The traditional blood sausage has long been a Bavarian favorite for sandwiches, and it is ready for any modern table. Yeah, there you go. So here's a place right here, schallerweber.com, where you can buy Old World German Blutwurst, which is the German variation of blood sausage. And then we have Beaudenois. I know how to say that because I learned before the stream, unlike I did yesterday.
Boudin noir.
Beaudenois. Beaudenois. All right. We're ready to go. So, Beaudenois. Beaudenois. That is the French variation. Whenever you see a word and it's like, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, 9 times out of 10, it's usually French. If it's an English word and you're like, I know those letters, but I don't understand how they go together, it's probably French. Beaudenois. Spin on the traditional recipes and benefits. So Beaudenois is one of the oldest charcuterie products. In France, the Beaudenois is one of the permanent staples of French cuisine, particularly north of the country. Simply put, it is one of the most famous and most appreciated and celebrated blood pudding sausages made in France. It has always been part of a tradition of sausage making in the charcuterie industry. On average, a staggering 15,000 metric tons of Beaudenois is being consumed annually by French citizens. So the French love their blood sausage, or what they call Beaudenois. So, what is it? The Beaudenois is one of the oldest and among the most traditional meat-curing recipes in France. Various inscriptions that document the preparation of Beaudenois state that the recipe dates back to the Middle Ages, when it was made with pork blood and oats. But other sources state that French people and their Gallic ancestors have been preparing and consuming Beaudenois for the past 2,000 years. Until the Second World War, it was still common for French families in provincial areas to raise pigs and make it themselves. And it looks pretty tasty, right? I do find it funny. You look at the English preparation of blood sausage, and you got eggs and tomatoes, and you got like 5 different kinds of sausage because they really love their fucking sausage, and you got beans because they love their beans. And then you look at the French preparation, it's like tiny little cuts of like little shit. Definitely looks like something a French person would eat compared to the British version, which definitely looks like something a British person would eat. And we'll continue too. We'll keep going because it isn't just Westerners that eat this stuff, right? In terms of preparing Beaudenois, pigs were raised to be slaughtered when winter was around the corner, usually coming late November. This process was regarded as a time-honored tradition at this time of the year, with an entire family or village working from dusk till dawn. In essence, the process was comprised of the following steps. You slaughter the pig, you bleed them, you butcher their carcass, and process the body parts. So again, you can see how this takes on pretty much more or less the same style. It looks very similar to the German variation, which looks very similar to the British generation. The British version. These seem to be cut a little thicker and a little bit more wet, I guess, compared to the German version. But look, those look good, man. Those look like good fucking sausages, right? So yeah, can't dog it. This is, again, Beaudenois, or blood sausage, or bratwurst, is very popular, in all 3 of these different, cultures, which is really interesting. So how do they cook it? Beaudenois is already cooked. You just need to reheat it. Oh, we recommend plating the boudin in a stoneware dish with butter and thin sliced apples. Oh, that's an interesting way to eat it. So see, everybody eats it differently though, right? Then British, they eat it with their bangers and beans and eggs and tomatoes. All this talk of food giving me heartburn. I'm so fucking old, I don't even need to eat to get heartburn anymore. I just look at food and it's like, bam! Ugh. Killing me. Killing me. Getting old is not for pussies. Okay. So, it's kind of interesting to see how these different cultures eat the same thing, right? The British eat it with their bangers and their beans and their tomatoes and their eggs. The Germans eat it in sandwiches, and the French eat it with butter and thinly sliced apples. That's pretty wild. I can say I've never tried that. Well, you can put it in a hot oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. Serve it with mashed potatoes and caramelized apples and onions. Very interesting. See, there we go. Black pudding in the UK and Ireland is, for example, typically eaten as a breakfast food. So crazy. Now we're going to dive into some other ones, right? Because blood pudding doesn't stop with Europe. It's also, get out my face, is in Korea. So it is very popular in Asian cultures as well. Korean blood sausage. It's one of the better things I've stuffed into an intestinal casing. All right. The kind of blood sausage we're most accustomed to in the U.S. is boudinois, that creamy emulsion of blood and fat, heavily spiced with ground meat in the mixture. Boudinois is probably my favorite kind of blood sausage because of its creaminess and richness. Making it delicious requires very little work. Just brown the sausage in a pan and serve it with potatoes, apples, or anything that complements the slightly liverish, iron-rich taste of blood. Recently, I've been eating a lot of Korean blood sausage, or sudae, and have been quite taken with its texture. Sudae can be made with squid and other protein-rich ingredients, but in its most popular form, it's made by mixing pork blood with cellophane noodles and glutinous rice. Okay, so they mix theirs with noodles and rice. I think you can kind of see the little rice granulars right in there, right? Ooh, you can close in on it. Little rice is right in there. Interesting. Crazy, right? I think that's cool. Maybe I'm making a big deal out of nothing, but I think that's so cool how all these different cultures eat the same thing and just how they do it slightly different, right? So barley, fermented soybean paste, kimchi, soybean sprouts, and perilla leaves crop up on regional variations of the sausage too. The mixture makes for a dense, slightly gummy body. If you like chewy, mochi textured things, oh, I fucking love mochi textured things. You can ask my girlfriend. If you don't know what mochi is, you're missing out on a little slice of heaven. It's amazing. Mochi textured things and blood, then you'll probably like sundae. I would probably like sundae. Yeah, I love mochi texture things. I especially love mochi donuts. I actually got a whole cupboard full of mochi. I'm going to go eat some mochi after this now that I'm thinking about it. I can't wait to be done with you and eat my mochi. No, I'm just kidding. We're having fun. But the taste of the sausage is mild, but it's enlivened with salt, sugar, chili powder, sesame seeds, and dried and ground shrimp. Oh. The taste of the blood comes through beautifully. It's one of the better things I've stuffed into an intestinal casing. I don't know why that makes me laugh, but I'm just, Anyways, you'll find sudae at Korean markets in the prepared food sections. If it's freshly made and unrefrigerated, it's good to eat as is. But once the sausage has been refrigerated, the segments become more rigid and less pleasant to chew. To return the sundae back to its original form or state of glutinous tenderness, add it to a soup and stew or pan fry it to get a crispy surface and tender interior. When sundae is added to soups, the noodles and rice in the casing absorbs the broth so that each bite is juicy and flavorful, with the blood present still strong. If you crisp sundae in a pan with a little oil, the surface starts resembling crispy rice cakes and the interior will be soft and tender, which sounds delicious. So that's how the Koreans eat it, right? Got their own interesting take on it. And let's see. Yes. Got a couple more here. There is Filipino chocolate meat. So the Filipinos eat it as well. My cutie pie informs me of this one because she's part Filipino. And I gotta be honest, cutie pie, out of all the dishes we've seen so far, this one looks the most like a pile of shit. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that. That looks like poop on a plate right there. I'm sure it's delicious, but, that one looks the least appetizing. But this is Filipino chocolate meat, or dinuguan. Am I pronouncing that right? I'm gonna need your help with that. I didn't say it didn't look. I didn't say it looked gross. I would totally try it. Right, denuguan. That is okay. Denuguan. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it, cutie pie. I hope you enjoyed your sausage up there. By the way, she literally just ate sausage, and here we are talking about sausage. So, this may sound bizarre or even disgusting to some people since it uses edible pork blood. But many cultures use blood as an ingredient. Yeah, this is super duper common. A lot of people eat blood. This is just the Filipino version. And here's the recipe for the Filipino version. So, prepare pork blood by straining it and separating the blood that is in a jelly form in a separate bowl. Next, add a quarter cup of water and break up the jellied blood with your hands and set aside. Slice pork into small bite-sized pieces and set aside. Heat 1 tablespoon of corn oil, add the pork, and spread it evenly on the bottom of the pot. Cover and let it cook on medium-low heat for 3 minutes without stirring. Remove cover, stir the pork, and drain the liquid accumulated. Add garlic and saute for 1 minute. Then add the onions, stir, and cover. Let it cook for another minute. Next, add fish sauce and bay leaf and saute for 3 minutes. Now, I'm not particularly a fan of fish sauce in giant quantities. My cutie pie knows this. But you add a little fish sauce into like a little soy sauce and you mix that shit together and like for egg rolls, ooh, that's delicious. Okay, so a little bit, baby bit of soy sauce, and I'm game. I'm game. Too much fit sauce, and I'm good. Not my jam, man. Okay, then add a half a cup of vinegar, cover, and bring to a boil. Lower the heat and let it simmer for 3 minutes. Add the chicken stock and salt and let it simmer for 5 minutes. Add the jelly-formed pork blood first. Stir for about a minute, then add the rest of the pork blood and the jalapenos. Ooh, we got jalapenos in it. That sounds delicious already. Continue to stir for about 2 minutes. Cover and let simmer for another 5 minutes. Add another half cup of vinegar. Again, cover and let it simmer for an additional 5 minutes. Adjust the taste by adding salt and pepper if needed. For extra flavor, you can use accent flavor seasoning. Serve with white rice, of course. If you didn't serve it with white rice, it wouldn't be Filipino. But we got a lot of tasty stuff in here. Like, look, it does not look delicious. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. That's not the most appetizing thing to look at. But you got garlic in there. You got vinegar. That's pretty, from what Cutie Pie has told me, vinegar, fish sauce, two very common ingredients in Filipino food. And by the way, like, me and my girlfriend, we go to this local Filipino restaurant, and man, it is fucking amazing. Every time we've been there, it's been awesome. So they do a lot of vinegar with their cooking, and it's delicious. Add in the pork blood, pork belly. Fucking love pork belly. They really know how to cook good pork belly in the Philippines. You got onions, jalapenos. You got all kinds of good shit in there. So it might not look the best, but all of those flavors combined sound like something delicious. I would absolutely eat that. Here's another dinuguan recipe. So this one is more of a soup-looking dinuguan, right? I don't know why, but that looks far more appetizing. I have a hunch, too, that dinuguan is probably pretty spicy. So dinuguan, also known as chocolate meat, right? So you got black pudding in the UK. You got Blutwurst in Germany. You got Boudinois in France. Then you got Korean, what do they call it? Sundae. I think they call it sundae in Korea. And then dinuguan in the Philippines, or chocolate meat, is a savory dish made with diced pork. I believe it's also called blood chocolate, if I'm not mistaken. Pork blood and spices. This classic Filipino pork stew is hearty, boldly flavored, and delicious as a main meal with steamed rice or midday snack with puto. So that looks really, really good, right? You can see the pieces of pork belly in there, like, ooh, that does look delicious, right? Like, my girlfriend has asked a couple times for this at the Filipino restaurant we went to, or once, and they said they do make it. They just didn't have it at the time because of Lent. But, oh, that's pieces of chicken. Okay, this one they make with chicken. I would try it with both, but the pork belly would be delicious. So you got these peppers in there. If I know anything about Filipino girls, they like their shit spicy. So they like spicy foods. Oh, yeah. Okay, pork cuts. Yeah, see, that looks really, really good. There, throw that on rice. That looks pretty delicious. That does. So there's another recipe for dinuguan. 10 ounces of pork blood, 1 cup of vinegar, canola oil, 1 onion, garlic, right? Ginger, this one adds a little ginger. We didn't have that in the last recipe. 2 pounds of pork belly. Ooh, got the fish sauce. Got to have the fish sauce. Brown sugar, ooh, and then 2 finger chilies. Siling haba. I don't know anything about finger chilies, but those did look delicious. And yeah, so, you can pause this, uh, pause it and take a snapshot, whatever, if you're interested in making your own dinuguan. But yeah, I mean, that one right there looks super duper tasty, right? I would eat the shit out of the dinuguan too. As far as I've had blood sausage, it's always been really good. There's never been a form of blood sausage that I didn't like. Here is a recipe. Like I said, with all of the things we're going over today, I'm going to give you recipes for them. So here's a recipe for just your traditional British black pudding, which is the one that I've made. Not made, excuse me, but tried. Again, it's just dried pig's blood, add in a little water, pork back fat. Okay, so diced whilst frozen, onion. They make their sausage with porridge oats, or oatmeal. Pearl barley can be made with that too. This one does barley and oats. Black pepper, mace, coriander, salt. We also saw earlier, sometimes they throw in cinnamon, nutmeg goes in there too, getting a little Christmassy. So you cook the pearl barley as per instructions around an hour and 15 minutes and leave to cool and drain thoroughly. Sweet the diced fat with diced onion for 5 minutes on low heat and leave to cool. Mix the dried blood with the water, I use a hand whisk, and then strain through a sieve to remove any clumps. Add the fat, onion, blitzed oats, cooked pearl barley, and spices to the rehydrated blood and mix thoroughly. Spoon the mixture into black pudding cases, squeeze down until tight and tie off with butcher's twine. Vacuum seal and cook at 83 degrees Celsius in a sous vide for 45 minutes. I don't know what a sous vide is, but transfer to an ice bath until cold, then refrigerate, fry in a little oil to finish. So there you have it, making your own blood sausage. The thing about blood sausage, black pudding, if you just type it into Google, you're going to get so many different recipes. I typed in dinuguan and just clicked on the first 2 recipes I saw, but there was endless recipes for different types of blood sausage. Because like I said, it's a pretty common thing around the world. Now, there is one instance where I will not eat blood sausage. We got a goofball here that says, I made blood sausage using my own blood. And, I'm not the type to judge people, but this person looks like she would eat blood using blood sausage with her own blood. I'm not sure. There's just something about that face that says crazy eyes right there. I drink my own blood is definitely in that face. I saw that picture and I was like, oh yeah, not surprised at all. So yeah, I wasn't going to go deep into this story, but yeah, here's the pictures for you. This is her taking a bag of her own blood, making it as the recipe called for that we talked to, except instead of pig's blood, she pours her own blood into oats, is what's going on right there. And then this is her mixing the blood and the oats up right there. Looks super duper yummy. And then this is her blood sausage right there that she cooked and ate. Yeah. Okay, so there you have it. That's it is in fact possible to make blood sausage using your own blood. If you are crazy enough to do that, this lady gives you the rundown. This was for Vice though, so I'm sure that they have journalists over there who've done crazier shit than that. But yeah, there's blood sausage with your own blood. I thought I'd bring that up just because I came across that and I was like, whoa, while we're talking about really weird fucking things, this definitely takes the cake. That's definitely in there. Making blood sausage with your own blood is taking it to the next level, right? Again, like I said, because I've tried blood sausage and it was awesome. It was delicious. My cutie pie agrees. She loves it. It's delicious. Everybody I know who's ever had blood sausage says it's awesome. Not that crazy. This is more for the people who have never tried blood sausage. It is one of those things that when you first hear about it, you're like, ooh, really? Like, it's just sausage made of blood? And it's like, yeah, and it's not bad. It's pretty good, man. It depends on how you spice it, I'm sure. I'm sure you can try people who suck at making blood sausage, just like I've met people who fucking suck at making microwave pizzas. It's just a thing, man. I've actually met people who sucked at making macaroni and cheese, for God's sakes, So, I'm sure people out there can cook some shitty blood sausage, but, for the most part, it's really good. To one up it, making it with your own blood is definitely one way to do that, right? So there you have it, folks. There's blood sausage. Now I'm going to go ahead. You can stare at my handsome beard while I get the next of these slides up here. Yeah, so we got a couple more for you. I got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 more good recipes. I think we already hit 4, right? 1, 2, we hit 3. And we're looking at just under an hour left. Perfect. I think we're doing good on time here, you guys. I'm really excited about this next one, just because this comes from where I come from. I come from the same place as this goofy recipe right here. So, let's see. Recipe. And then I got a couple more for you. I think out of the next 4, 2 of them are in the US. So I did want to keep some of the goofy things that we eat local. A lot of times when I see people do like, oh, crazy recipes from around the world, it's always, you know, from other countries. And it's like, you know, we got a lot of goofy shit that we eat at home that nobody ever brings up, right? So I thought I would do something a little different with my stream and give you a couple interesting things that people from our side of the world eat that are weird. I will say that, in my opinion, I guess it's a matter of taste, really, because we are talking about food, right? So, but
from idea to
in my
submission,
opinion,
empowers.
None of these things beat the kazu marzu. For me, the kazu marzu is definitely, the maggot cheese definitely takes the cake for the most disgusting. And very quickly after that, we're going to have, after the next recipe, the next recipe, the recipe after, that one takes the cake for me as probably, that will be Canada's recipe. Canada's recipe is a pretty, I don't know about that one, right? So they eat some weird shit in Canada, as it turns out. And I also didn't do Vegemite. I very much considered doing Australian Vegemite just because apparently that one, you know, people in Australia swear by it. I myself am not sure what to think about it. I've never tried it. Some people say it's the most disturbing thing they've ever tried, but, you know, we'll have to, might have to give Vegemite a try before I go adding it to a list of weird foods, because it doesn't sound super weird. It just, you know, everybody says it's really weird. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just continue with the stream right along. Our next one hails from America, specifically the Midwest, and specifically, well, the Northwest Midwest. The general area that I've always found it in is my home sweet home of Wyoming and Colorado. And I think you can find it in Montana as well. I know you can find it in Montana, and I can tell you why here in a minute. Rocky Mountain oysters. What are they? We try a dish of cowboy lore. So yes, this is an old school. Okay, I'm going to move to my rant screen for a minute. So this dish is an old school cowboy dish, right? And I got a funny story that comes along with it. Okay, so yeah, this is old school American culture here, way back from the cowboy days. When I used to live in Phoenix, Arizona. I went to a music production school there and audio recording school. And when I was down there, I had a friend of mine who was from New Orleans, or he'd say New Orleans. So my friend from New Orleans and me, we would swap days in which one of us would pick the other one up to go to school, right? Because I had one car plus a girlfriend. He had one car and his wife. And there would be days where his wife needed the car to drive to work. So I'd come pick him up. And then there'd be other days where his girlfriend needed the car my girlfriend needed the truck to go do whatever she was doing. So he'd come and pick me up. And so we would take turns picking each other up for school and driving each other to school. And so we had a lot of conversations together about the different places that we're from, right? That was probably one of the coolest parts of going to that audio school. It wasn't just, you know, because again, I'm from Wyoming, not a lot of music schools out there, not a lot of places to go to meet people who enjoy music. But going down to Arizona and going to this music school, I met people from all over the world. that enjoyed music. And that was one of the coolest things ever, right? I met people from Brazil. That was my first time meeting people from outside of the country. It was, people from Brazil, people from England. I had a friend from England who I forget his name, but it was like, it was a James Bond sounding name, right? It was like James Boyce or something like that, or John Boyne or something. It was something that sounded like James Bond. And then he had that accent, and he absolutely killed with the ladies over here. And when we lived in LA, I didn't live with him, but me and a group of friends lived together briefly. He was around the way and we'd go hang out with him, and he killed it with those Los Angeles girls, right? In his James Bond's accent. Fuckhead. Anyways, he was a good guy. But so, yeah. Anyhow, me and my friend from New Orleans, we're talking, every day that we're driving with each other, we're talking about the places we come from and how different they are, drastically different, coming from a city down south and a tiny little country town out in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, right? We had completely different experiences in our childhoods, and it was always really fun to compare and contrast. And so one day we're talking about food. We're talking about, culinary stuff that comes from our respective parts of the country. And of course, New Orleans is filled to the brim. My cutie pie lives down in Louisiana, used to live in Louisiana. And, they got so many different dishes down there that are specific to the South, specific to Louisiana, specific to like the Creole culture down there, all the various cultures that only really exist in that tiny little part of the world. Is really the coolest thing about Louisiana. And I'm not a huge fan of living in the state per se. It just, funny enough, the small towns in Louisiana just remind me way too much of the small towns in Wyoming. And I don't really have a need to want to go back and be in that area again. Hey, it was fun while it lasted, but I'm over small towns for the rest of my life. Anywho, it was very interesting. All the different, they have tons of interesting, dishes, culinary, whatever down there, right? Like all kinds of unique food that they make in Louisiana that come out of New Orleans. And my friend's always telling me all about it. He's like, oh man, you got to try the po' boy sandwiches, and you got to eat the soft shelled crab and the prawn breaks, brother, the prawn bakes or whatever, and he had all these very, the gumbo and the jambalaya and the this and the that and the other shit. And I'm like, wow, man, that sounds like you got a lot of food down there. It's like, yeah, like what kind of food y'all got in Wyoming, man? Y'all got to have something that's normal, that you guys do, right? Like that's special for Wyoming. I say, I don't know, man. Wyoming is pretty, it's meat and potatoes, man. We eat steaks, everybody grows up. If you don't grow up on a cattle ranch where I'm from, then you grew up in a small town surrounded by cattle ranches. So it was steak, man. It's steak all day long. It's steak and potatoes, baby. That's most of what we eat. That, we'll eat that morning, lunch, and breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's steak and eggs, right, with breakfast potatoes. Then in the lunchtime, it's prime rib sliced into a burger, or it's Angus burgers, with French fries. And then dinner is a big fat prime rib with fingerling potatoes, or red potatoes. It's steak and potatoes all day long. And we got like chicken fried steak is a big thing out there. Country fried steak, they call it in the South. We have that, with the white gravy and whatnot. But that's over in a lot of different regions of America. We have biscuits and gravy, but again, that's, more of a country thing, not really a Wyoming thing, right? Like you could go anywhere out in the country in the South, the country in the North, country in the Northwest, and country even in the Southwest. And you're going to see some form of biscuits and gravy and chicken fried steak, things like that, right? Country fried steak, whatever you want to call it. But I say, oh, you know what? We do have one. We have one. There's one I can think of that I haven't seen anywhere else. And I think it is common to just Wyoming. And he said, oh, okay. Like, so what is it, man? What is it? And I said, Rocky Mountain oysters. He says, oh, okay. They got oysters up in the mountains up there. And I said, well, no, it's not real oysters. And he says, oh, okay. Well, then what is it, man? And I said, it's cow testicles. It's bull's nuts. And he goes, oh my Lord, oh my God, you eat bull testicles? Oh my Lord, this boy here. And it was the funniest thing. I laughed so fucking hard. He couldn't get over it, man. He just looked at me with all the color drained from his face. Like he went from black to white in like 5 different shades in 2 seconds. Like, and yeah, he couldn't believe that we ate bull testicles in Wyoming. And so, for those of you that don't know, yes, we will slice the testicles right off your pet bull and we will eat them in Wyoming. And that is what Rocky Mountain oysters are called. So, a guy who covers agriculture in the West who's never put a skinned, sliced, battered, deep fried bull testicle into the cup of a cocktail sauce and then into his mouth, I couldn't let it stand. They're known by many names: lamb fries, bull fries, Montana tenders, huevos de toro, cowboy caviar. In my corner of Colorado, they're Rocky Mountain oysters. And I somehow coaxed myself into thinking I needed to try them to be more of a part of a place I live in, to be a true blue Coloradian. Get the fuck out my face, son. I moved to Colorado from Illinois in 2011, and like many Midwesterners who made the journey out west, I was ready to broaden my views, experiences, relationship with nature, and my cuisine. Over the years, I had tried the standard array of more traditional Rocky Mountain foods: elk, rainbow trout, lamb, but still I felt like I was missing out on something. I needed some Colorado cred, and the Rocky Mountain oyster was my last hill to climb. So Severance, Colorado. I lived in Colorado for about 9 years. I grew up in Wyoming, lived in Colorado for 9 years. Love Denver, my favorite city in the world. Live in Nashville now. It's my second favorite city in the world. But Colorado will always have a special place in my heart. And yes, I'm very well aware of the town of Severance. There's a rich tapestry of Western lore built around Rocky Mountain oysters, thanks to the food's cowboy provenance. There are old tales of ranch hands holding big parties to fry up the testicles. Some ranchers still hold so-called nut fries. In some corners, they're an aphrodisiac. Okay, see, everybody keeps saying these things. You know, I can attest to this. Eating testicles does not make your testicles bigger. It does not give you a boner. If it does, you have an issue. Yeah, everybody, they do this. If somebody thinks of some weird, goofy, if it's a weird, goofy food that most people don't want to put in their mouth, they market it as an aphrodisiac, and you're like, okay, so it does something for my man parts. Okay, I'll eat that shit then, and that's why people get convinced to eat fish sperm and bull testicles. An aphrodisiac. It's an aphrodisiac. Next time, I'm not even going to go there. Okay, Bruce's Bar is the place to try Rocky Mountain oysters, a place that's been built on the novelty of eating testicles since 1957, an institution in the small town of Severance, Colorado. Bruce's has enough sway in town to merit inclusion on its welcome sign, which reads, "The Town of Severance, where the geese fly and the bulls cry." And that sign does in fact exist in Severance, Colorado. The bar's exterior is plastered in cartoon bulls, some with their legs crossed. Another is popping a wheelie on a motorcycle holding a sign that says, "Still got mine." Colorado is a very colorful place. Few other places revere the Rocky Mountain oysters like Severance, save for towns like Deerfield, Michigan, Olean, Montana, Tiro, Ohio, Huntley, Illinois, or Clinton, Montana, which throw annual testicle festivals. We're going to get into that in a minute. Each year, Bruce's acts as a starting point for a nut run, a motorcycle rally with the tagline, "No bull, just balls," where visitors wolf down upwards of 1,000 pounds of Rocky Mountain oysters in a single afternoon. And of course, there's the name of the town, Severance. It literally means the state of being separated or cut off. Oh, geez Louise. Hold on a second. Okay. No, I don't think that eating deep-fried testicles gives me some magical ability to relate more to the farmers and the ranchers I talk with on a daily basis, but I do think it's important to be open to new foods, especially ones with deep roots in a culture. What's gross to one person is a delicacy to another and an everyday traditional dish to someone else. Our food carries meaning, which is something I'm always curious to explore. And that's true. Like I was saying earlier, it is very, that was kind of a point that I wanted to make with the blood sausage. It is really cool how all these different cultures make these different foods. Scirocco is kind of pushing it a little bit. I think the Kazu Marzu is pushing it over the edge for me. Maggot cheese is too much for me, but it is culturally important, right? It's tradition to them. And that is one reason that I think it is interesting. All of these odd foods around the world, a lot of them exist because they're culturally important. And bull balls, better believe it, is culturally important. There's a picture of some sliced testicles for you right there. And this is a conversation he has with a fella about the bull's nuts. We don't need to get into that. Let's just go into how do you cook bull testicles, because I'm sure some of you out there are curious. It's okay. It's fine. You're allowed to be curious about these kinds of things. Let's go ahead and watch how this person cooks bull testicles.
These are, for lack of better terms, bull balls. I brined them for 4 days, then placed them in hot water. This made removing the membrane easier. Then I added seasoning, and I smoked the balls at 225 for an hour and a half. I let them cool off in the fridge. Then I sliced them up and served them with jalapeno relish and crispy shallots.
Okay, so that's one way to cook them. I've actually never eaten them that way. I've never eaten them just cooked in the oven. I'll be honest with you. That is not the OG recipe that we have in Wyoming, folks. Oh yeah, before we dive into the original, well, let's just pull up the original recipes here, then we'll get into that here in a later. Okay, yes. Have a ball, Rocky Mountain oysters, history and tradition. Oh, that's a whole nother thing. Here it is right here. So this is the traditional recipe for Rocky Mountain oysters. You got 2 bull's testicles, or 2 pounds of bull's testicles. That's a lot of very sad bulls. 2 tablespoons of salt, tablespoon of vinegar, cup of flour, cornmeal, red wine. Oh. Nailed it. Got it. I'm killing it with the fucking mute button. I might as well just call it the burp button, because I feel like that really, that has a ring to it, comes off the tongue nicely. I'm coming back in here so y'all can see me. But yeah, anyways, cup of red wine, salt, pepper, garlic powder, hot sauce, cooking oil. So essentially, you know, we don't need to dive too deep into it, but it's deep frying. You deep fry the balls is what you do. And that is, you know, actually, come to think of it, I keep forgetting, my cutie pie, who's from Hawaii, she tried Rocky Mountain oysters for the first time with me when she came to Wyoming for the first time. She came to Wyoming to visit the parents, see the family, see where I grew up. And she hung out with me and a childhood friend of mine, Stephen Parcell. And me and Stephen and Cutie Pie had some bull testicles, Rocky Mountain oyster. She tried them for the first time because she, you know, she's very open-minded, same as me. We're both willing to try new foods. And she liked them for the most part. You know, I mean, it wasn't spectacular, and it isn't, to be honest. Deep fried bull testicles, you know, it kind of, I guess it's, there's not necessarily a comparison. It's got its own unique kind of texture, but it's a lot like deep fried shrimp, deep fried calamari, something to that effect. It's got its own distinct taste, but it's not bad. And it's not special. It's not the most amazing thing you've ever tried either, right? You're not going to, you know, it isn't going to be something you need to write home about, right? Other than to say, wow, look at me, I ate a testicle. So that's nice. But that's your traditional recipe. And, you know, I figured I would dive into Rocky Mountain oyster history. I don't think that's really necessary. We don't need to deep dive into it. Oh, this is why I brought it up. Okay, see, this is, again, traditional recipe here. Ingredients: 2 to 3 pounds of testicles, eggs, milk, flour, cornmeal, salt, pepper, and other spices to taste. And you deep fry that shit. So that's what it ends up looking like. Usually that's a very common, that's commonly what it looks like. And it's good. Nice, crunchy, you know, not particularly chewy. Usually we make it in little, just like this right here. It's a little, looks like a cornflake really, but it's a little chip really that you eat. And when it's like that, it comes out nice and hot and crunchy. It's really, really good. And before we move on to our next culinary delights, remember the Testicle Festival. So like I said, it's a big deal in Montana. And I know this because I used to live in Montana. I lived in Montana, well, I think it was about a year, maybe a little less than a year. I lived up there in Bozeman, Montana. And yes, they have a Testicle Festival. I believe the Testicle Festival was in Missoula. Yep. 20 minutes east of Missoula in a place called the Rock Creek Lodge. Okay, so there it is. But yes, 5-day debauchery is what they call it. And this is just a guy's retelling of the Testy Festi is another, the Testicle Festival is another name for it. Most of the Testy Festi, though, is people drinking. It's an excuse to go out, get drunk, and chill with the cowgirls, right? Hit on some cowgirls, and eat some testicles, I guess. And if you're lucky, have your testicles get eaten. But, okay, that was a raunchy joke. But anyways, yes, there is such a thing as a Testicle Festival in Montana. So, we are going to move on to our next delicacy, right? We covered blood sausage. Let's see, we had shirako, which was fish sperm. Kazu marzu, maggot cheese, blood pudding, and Rocky Mountain oysters, fried bull testicles. Okay. And out of those four, I would probably say the most disturbing is the Kazu marzu, in my opinion. Then we're going to go on to the fish sperm. And then we're going to go to the fried testicles. And then we'll go with blood sausage, right? Blood sausage is pretty common. It only seems unusual to people who have never heard of it. But this one, them Canadians, y'all, let me tell you about them. They eat jellied moose nose. Yeah, jellied moose nose. Excuse me, nose is not a word. Jelly moose nose. That is a big old fat moose's nose jellied. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's just hard to believe, really. So, residents of Alaska and Canada's northernmost regions are no strangers to moose meat. In such climes, moose meat is eaten in the form of steaks, sausages, and even pizza toppings. Nothing weird there. You know, moose, hey, elk. I eat plenty of elk. I don't think I've ever eaten moose, though. I would be willing to try it, though. Caribou, too. One moose dish, however, remains a rare delicacy. Jellied moose nose. In the past, indigenous hunters in the greater Northwest could rely on one whole moose to feed a family for weeks. Every part of the animal was eaten or preserved, including the nose. The moose's long, bulbous snout is still considered a delicacy among indigenous communities. Jelly's moose nose is similar to European head cheese, trapping cuts of moose nose with a gelatinized broth. The dish was even mentioned in the Northern Cookbook in 1976 publication by the Canadian government that offered recipes and cooking advice for wilderness wives living in the backwoods of the far north. So again, this is a very important dish in the indigenous Canadian culture. Just like testicles for cowboys. Right? And here you thought the Brokeback Mountain, you know, it wasn't too far off the mark, right? Turns out cowboys do love their testicles. So, okay. A moose's nose contains both white meat from the bulb of the nose and dark meat from around the bones. The fur must be removed prior to cooking, either by being singed off over an open fire, peeled off after the nose has been boiled, or simply skinning the nose. Chefs then slice the nose and simmer it with onions, garlic, and an array of other spices, which may include cinnamon, cloves, allspice, or mustard seeds. Now see, up to this point, it doesn't actually sound all that bad, right? You're thinking white meat, dark meat, kind of sounds like turkey. It's like, well, you know what? And it's a big fucking nose, right? Moose have big-ass noses. Moose are just big in general. But they're it's like, well, there's probably a lot of meat there. Like, it doesn't sound too bad at the moment. Meat from other parts of the moose's head, such as the ears and lips, may be added to the mix. Once the concoction has cooled down, the cook lays the pieces of meat in a loaf pan, douses them with broth, and places the mixture in the refrigerator so the broth can solidify. The resulting jelly is served like a loaf of bread and eaten in slices. And that's the part that gets me. That's the part where I'm just like, Now, I'd still try it. I'd totally still try it, because essentially it's meat jelly is what it is. See, here's the parts of the nose, and it's jellified in a broth. Which, if that's just a soup, it's meat and broth. That's soup. That's stew. I'll eat the shit out of it. I don't, whatever. Hey, I'll eat a fucking pair of bull's nuts. Sure, I'll eat the moose's nose. Fine, whatever. But the jellied part is just what gets me. Moose meat tends to be lean and gamey. Jellied moose nose, however, is more complex. Chef Andrew Zimmerman describes the dish as exploding with little tastes, likening the flavor to corned beef. Oh, see, and I fucking love corned beef. Me and Cutie Pie both love corned beef. When different cuts from the moose head are mixed together, the jelly sports a variety of textures, from the chewiness of nose cartilage to the tenderness of cheek meat. So, chewiness of nose cartilage, I don't know if that sounds too good. That doesn't really win me over. I'm going to be honest with you. But, hey, it sure beats the hell out of maggot cheese, right? So let's move over to the YouTube screen. We got a good video here.
Students to do their best
about
work
jelly
with
moose
Grammarly's
nose.
comprehensive AI writing assistant.
Because why not?
Some foods capture our attention not just because of how they look or...
Those are chicken feet. I have not eaten chicken feet. My grandpa used to eat chicken feet. So chicken feet is also actually another common dish in a lot of different cultures. I know in Asia, they eat the chicken's feet. And I know in the South, they eat chicken feet. And in the West, the Northwest, specifically Wyoming, they do eat chicken's feet. It is a thing. So
taste, but because of the stories behind them. They push us to ask, who thought of eating this in the first place? It's a dish that at first glance might make you raise an eyebrow or even wince a little. This dish is known for its unique preparation, gelatinous texture, and deep connection to indigenous traditions.
So, see, that doesn't look particularly appetizing. You know, that's the jellied part that just gets me, man. If it wasn't jellied, if it was just like nose meat stew, I'd be like, bro, I'm down. Now, I imagine we'll get a little bit into this video, and I remember watching it once before. We'll get into it. I believe that the reason they jelly it is because they're, you know, in fucking Alaska. They can't exactly just carry a fucking pot of stew around with them. You know, it's not going to last very long. The jelly more or less preserves it longer, at least. I would imagine, I believe that that's the whole purpose of that. So it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. When you live in Alaska, you know, fuck, man. It's, you know, all bets are off. You just got to do whatever you can do.
Join me today as we dive into the fascinating world of jellied moose nose. Jellied moose nose is deeply rooted in the traditions of indigenous communities in northern Canada and Alaska. Moose have long been one of the main sources of food in these regions, where the animal's meat, hide, and even bones are all put to use. The nose, often overlooked in other cultures, is rich in collagen and has a unique texture that turns tender and gelatinous when cooked. It's also highly nutritious, offering a good source of protein, minerals, and collagen. For the communities that rely on moose as a key food source, nothing goes to waste. This practice isn't just about sustainability, it's about respect. Using every part of the animal honors the life taken and ensures that communities are sustained, even in harsh climates where other food sources may be limited. Jellied moose nose became a symbol of this resourcefulness and respect for nature. But over time, it's become a dish that draws curiosity from food enthusiasts.
So, just to pause the video there. I think that confirms I was right. I'm always right. Here on Cool Beans Hot Stuff, you can rest assured I'm going to be right 99% of the time. And the other 1% of the time, I'm not going to admit it. But yeah, they're jellying it to preserve it, keep it for later. Important part of the process. Interesting way to go about surviving, right? That is kind of cool. You know, like the maggot cheese, you know, is an interesting tradition that they do. You know, that's certainly one way to do it, but it doesn't actually come from necessity. Neither, you know, the eating of bull testicles, if you dive a little bit more into the history, it does kind of come very similar to the eating of the moose's nose. There wasn't just a bunch of cowboys riding through the desert and thought, hey, let's eat a pair of nuts off a bull. You know, that'll be fun. Like, it didn't come around that way, right? It came around because, yeah, it was to use as much of the animal as possible, to eat as much as you could from the animal. There are indigenous tribes from the Wyoming area that did, in fact, eat the bull's testicles as well. It's not exclusively a cowboy tradition. It's most closely associated with cowboys since it was very popular with that particular group of people. But yeah, jellied moose nose in a very similar fashion came out of necessity, right? So that's pretty interesting.
And adventurous eaters outside of these communities. The unique taste and texture, combined with the story behind it, have turned jellied moose nose into a cultural talking point, a dish that embodies both history and tradition. To prepare jellied moose nose, you need, obviously, a moose nose. A fresh moose nose is the best choice, though it's often frozen to preserve its quality. The first step is cleaning the nose. That means removing any hair and giving it a thorough scrub.
Now, I'm gonna be honest, that also does not look appetizing. You're staring right into that fucking nostril. You know, that slice, that don't look like meat. None of that looks like meat. That's just a big old thick ass thing of cartilage. And I imagine eating like cartilage that you get when you're eating chicken. And it's just like, ooh, ugh, not into it. Not as of yet.
Actually singe the hair with a flame and then scrape off the charred bits to get a nice clean surface. Next, the cleaned moose nose is boiled in a pot with a mixture of spices and seasonings. The nose is simmered for several hours, softening and releasing the gelatinous texture we're looking for. After boiling, the meat around the nose becomes tender enough to separate. Once it's boiled, the nose is cooled, and any additional fat or cartilage is trimmed off. This part can be a bit time-consuming, but it's key to achieving the right texture. The trimmed nose is then sliced into thin pieces and arranged in a dish or mold, ready for the next step. Finally, the sliced nose is covered with broth, typically the same broth it was boiled in, so it's rich with flavor. Once it cools, the broth gels around the meat slices, creating that signature jelly texture. After setting in the fridge for a few hours, it's ready to eat.
Hello, Mark Barden here from Sandy Hook Promise. On December...
Okay, there you go. So, that's jellied moose nose. And let's see, textured and taste. Yeah, sure. Let's hear what they have to say about that taste-wise.
Gelatinous texture that's quite different from typical cuts of meat. Some might even describe it as delicate or smooth. It's similar to a well-made aspic, with a slight chewiness from the cartilage that was left intact. Imagine a cross between tender meat and a savory gelatin. It's certainly unlike anything most people are used to.
Yeah, see, the savory gelatin part is just what gets me. Imagine a savory gelatin. Like, I can't. I've never had a savory gelatin. I think of gelatin, I think of sweets. You know, again, it's probably just a cultural thing, but that's a tough imagination. I can't really picture that. I can't taste that. Again, I would still try it. I would give it a try. I would take a slice off of there, a little nibble, this tiny little corner right over here, and give it a shot. And if it was good, then I'd have some more.
As for the taste, jellied moose nose doesn't have a strong gamey flavor, as you might expect. Instead, the spices used in the boiling process, the cloves, bay leaves, garlic, all infuse the meat with a mild, savory taste. There's a slight hint of the wilderness, a reminder of where this dish came from, but it's not overwhelming. Many who try it are surprised by how mellow and flavorful it is. It's both earthy and refined, and the gelatin adds a richness that enhances the whole experience. For the indigenous peoples of northern Canada.
Okay. So, there you have it. There is a little bit of history on the... Let's see, let's go back to here. So there's a little history on the jellied moose nose for you, where it comes from, how it's, what it tastes like, what it is. We got all that down, right? And if you find that you are interested in some jellied moose nose, here is a jellied moose nose recipe for you folks, okay? So, you will need one moose nose, upper jawbone to be precise, one onion, one garlic clove, 1 tablespoon of whole mixed pickling spice. I don't know about that addition. 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper, and a 1/4 cup of vinegar. So you cut there, and I will say that this is probably the most difficult of all the dishes that we've covered to prepare, right? Because like, look, hey, the fish eggs, we went over that. That was like a 4-step process. They literally just grab them eggs, the fish sperm, they just throw that shit in a pot, simmers for 30 seconds. They just grab it right out and eat that shit with ponzu sauce. So not hard to prepare. You know, kazu marzu, you literally make cheese and put it out in the sun, and the maggots do the work, really, you know. Blood pudding is a little bit more difficult to prepare. Bull testicles, the hardest part is getting the testicles. Bulls tend to be attached to their testicles, don't want them to leave. But the jellied moose nose is certainly the more difficult of the ones to prepare. There's a lot of steps in here. You can see 12 different steps. We will read through them though, because it's easy. I mean, because it's quick to read, right? So first, you cut the upper jawbone of the moose just below the eyes. Place in a large kettle of scalding water and boil for 45 minutes. Remove and chill in cold water. Step 4, pull out all the hairs. These will have been loosened by the boiling and should come out easily like plucking a duck. Step 5, wash thoroughly until no hairs remain. That really is where the majority of the preparation comes from. Step 6, place the nose in a kettle and cover with fresh water. Add onion, garlic, and spices and vinegar. 8, bring to a boil, then reduce heat and simmer until the meat is tender. Let cook overnight in the liquid. Let cool overnight in the liquid. We got a thing here that's hard to read. 9, when cool, take the meat out of the broth and remove and discard bones and cartilage. You will have 2 kinds of meat: white meat from the bulb of the nose and thin strips of dark meat from along the bones and jowls. 10, slice the meat thinly and alternate layers of white and dark meat in a loaf pan. Saved you from another burp, you're welcome. 11, heat the broth to boiling, then pour the broth over the meat in a loaf pan. 12, let it cool until jelly has set. Slice and serve cold. Well, there you have it. So that's how you can make your own jellied moose nose. Pretty easy on the ingredients, directions, pretty easy to follow, but a lot of work, a lot of work there. So we got our jellied moose nose. Okay, we got our Scirocco, we got our Kazumatsu, we got our blood pudding, Rocky Mountain oysters, and our moose nose. So far, we have eaten sperm from fish. We have eaten what is essentially maggot poop. We've eaten blood from cows or pigs, excuse me. We have eaten the testicles off a bull and the nose off a moose. So what are we going to eat next? This one is not necessarily so disturbing of a recipe, but it is really crazy to see. That's really why I included it. This is a specifically English recipe called Stargazy Pie, English strangest Christmas dish. And it is a Christmas dish. And if you don't know what those are fish. Those are fish. They call it Stargazy Pie because these fish are arranged. I believe they're sometimes, there are different kinds of fish, but these fish are arranged so that their heads are poking out of the pie, right? Okay, so Stargazy Pie is an odd-looking invention. The heads and tails of pilchards poke out of a short crust lid. I imagine the pilchard is a kind of fish. Their bodies, meanwhile, are tucked under the pastry. A white sauce envelops them. Salty and formidably traditional, it's seasoned with coarse pepper and parsley. Inside the steaming pie is a grating of boiled egg adds a touch of nourishment. An earthy stock supplies a base. It's hearty cooking, which you might imagine tucking into a cold winter's night in a quaint Cornish village. It all smells of a buttery sea and tastes much the same. But Stargazy Pie is more than just an intriguing food item. It is said to be born out of famine in Cornwall's tiny port of Mousehole. The story goes that many years ago, it's not known exactly when, winter storms were thrashing the village with all their roaring anger, as they do. And this was when such weather cut off the region from the rest of England. People were going hungry. Look at this fella in his beard and his hat, and his fish poking out of the pie. Quite a picture there. Tom Bocock with his famous Stargazy Pie. Yep. I don't know why, but that beard and that hat just says, my name is Tom Bocock. Okay. So a local man named Tom Bocock bravely sailed out to sea and returned with fish aplenty. Into a pie his catch went, and every year since on December 23rd, a festival, Tom Bocock's Eve, is celebrated by all. It's not as bad as the Testicle Festival, all right? But, it's kind of funny. I can say from experience that it's a lively affair. Cornish locals like to dance, sing, and make good pastry. You might have read something similar in the famous children's book, The Mousehole Cat, which was inspired by Tom Bocock's endeavor. Such is the notoriety of the fisherman that his life is well charted in literature. Allegedly, he was first proclaimed a folk hero in the magazine Old Cornwall in the 1920s. It's on Tom Bocock's Eve, and only then when the Stargazy Pie is cooked and eaten. So this is a once-a-year delicacy that's eaten in this small town in England. That small town was Cornwall. Was it Cornwall? Was the name of the town? It kind of went by. Cornwall's tiny port of Mousehole. Okay, that was a port. All right. Sounds good. Continuing. Let's see. It's Mousehole's Christmas, and its festive grotto is the ship's inn, a centuries-old drinking hole perched on the edge of the harbor's rear wall. That is very pretty. Wow, that looks old. Every year, this pub dishes out free Stargazy Pie to all. From fishermen to school kids to hordes of tourists, great baking trays of steaming pie emerge from the kitchen. There's plenty of Cornish ale and drinking and singing to accompany them. And those are the songs they sing. peppered with Cornish and ancient Celtic language, spoken only by those, yada, yada, yada. So that's where the Stargazy pie comes from. And this is the Stargazy pie event, the Tom Bocock's Eve, right? So that's where Stargazy pie comes from, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. And here's some awesome pictures to enjoy. It's made in various different ways. This one was by far one of my favorites. These fish poking out from under the pie crust with little bits of what looks, well, I mean, it kind of looks like cilantro, but something coming out of their mouths, right? There's all different kinds of ways that people cook this Stargazy pie, right? Look at all these crazy ways, right? Usually the head's poking out of the crust. Pretty, you know, I'll be honest, it's a little unsettling at first. It's just a bunch of dead faces staring up at you. Like, you did this to me, Tony. You know, it's like, ooh, like, I'm sorry, little fish. But yeah, so there you have it. This is Stargazy pie right here. We already saw this one. These people throw a little spin on the fishies right there. Oh, here's a lobster one. I don't know if that's AI generated or not. Some of these nowadays, you kind of have to figure AI generated, right? Always got to watch out for that. There's another one right there, a little mini Stargazy pie. Okay, so you get the gist of it. This is what Stargazy pie looks like. It comes in a variety of different forms. I think this person kind of failed on theirs. This looks like fish sleeping under blankets, right? But yeah, so that's the traditional Stargazy pie. That's what it looks like. Fish in a pie. I don't know where that came from, but Stargazy pie. Okay, so how do you make it? English sardine pie. Well, let's take a look into it. Ingredients for the crust. You know, this I would say probably takes just as much, if not more, preparation than the jellied moose nose, right? You got, you know, pie crust, you need your flour, salt, mustard powder, preferably Coleman's mustard powder for your pie crust, 12 tablespoons of butter, and then ice cold water. Make your pie crust. Whisk your flour, mustard, salt in a bowl. Using a dough blender, 2 forks, or your fingers, cut butter into flour mixture, forming pea-sized crumbles. Add water, work dough until smooth, but with visible flecks of butter. That's a lot of work. That, you know, you got to get that right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never made pie crust, but I've watched people make pie crust, and it looks like a pain in the ass. I'm not going to lie. For the filling, you're going to need bacon. Ooh, I like this. I already like this. This has won me over a little bit. Not going to lie. 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, an onion, chicken stock, creme fraiche. I'm not sure what creme fraiche is. I'm assuming it's some type of custard, maybe. English mustard, parsley, fresh lemon juice, 2 eggs, ground pepper, sardines with heads attached, and 3 eggs hard-boiled, peeled, and sliced. So, you make the filling after you've made the crust. Heat bacon in a 4-quart saucepan over medium-high heat. Cook until slightly crisp, 5 to 7 minutes. Using a slotted spoon, transfer bacon to paper towels to drain. Add butter and onions to pan. Cook until golden, 5 to 7 minutes. Remove from heat. Whisk in stock, creme fraiche, mustard, parsley, lemon juice, half the egg, and salt, and set aside. Assemble and bake the pie. Heat oven to 400 degrees. On a lightly floured surface, roll 1 disc of dough into 12-inch round. Fit into a 9-inch pie plate, trim edges, leaving 1-inch dough. Arrange sardines in a clock-like pattern with heads resting along the edge of the crust. Pour filling over sardines, top with reserved bacon, the hard-boiled eggs, salt, and pepper. Roll remaining disc of dough into 12-inch rounds. Cut 8 1-inch slits in dough about 2 inches from the edge. Place over top of pie and pull sardine heads through slits. Pinch top and bottom edges together and fold under. Crimp edges. Brush with remaining egg and cut 3 1-inch long slits in the top of the pie. Bake until crust is golden and filling is bubbling. 35 to 40 minutes. Let it cool slightly before serving. As this person said, very good pie. I baked it. It sure looks disgusting, but actually tastes decent. Yeah, it doesn't look very good with those fish heads staring up at you. It looks a little bit morbid, right? But I'd give it a shot. You know, I'm not sure what the significance is to just cooking the fish whole instead of just, you know, putting fish in there. I guess because it's sardines, right? You cook it with that filling. and I would give it a shot. I would eat it. I'd give it a try. I'm not a huge fish lover. My grandpa loved sardines. He would just slurp sardines out of the freaking can. I am not a huge sardine lover, but I would still try stargazy pie just to say I did it, right? You know what I'm saying? Try everything once, twice if you like it, right? And that includes our next entry. So that's where we're at for stargazy pie. On the list of crazy foods, right? I'm going to go back over the list real quick. I still am going to put kazu marzu at the top, man. Kazu marzu is still number one most for me, right? Gives me the heebie-jeebies more than any other one does. I am not a fan of eating bugs, but most especially maggots. And then combine that with their cheesy poop. And just not a fan, man, you know. Call me culturally insensitive, but that I'm good. They can keep that. Shirako, not a big fan of that idea neither. I'll, you know, eat every other part of the fish before I consider eating the sperm sac. But if I had to, I would choose that over maggots and cheese, right? So kazu marzu and shirako gonna be my two top ones that I think are not the best, not really good. And then, you know, I'm actually gonna put stargazy pie. Number 3 for me, stargazy pie. I understand it's just like a regular pie and it's just got fish in it. You don't even have to eat the fucking fish, right? If you don't want to. But it's just unsettling. Look at those little dead eyes just staring at you. Look at that. It's just like, not appetizing, right? I'm gonna put that above the jellied moose nose. They're very close, but I'm gonna put stargazy pie and then jellied moose nose, and then I'm gonna go with Rocky Mountain oysters because I've already ate those, and blood sausage last because I've already ate those. Right? Those two don't particularly disturb me, but we got one more. So we're going to see how disturbing this last one is. What is this last one? Is it a big thing? I don't know. You'll have to decide. Weekly column from the Kenyon Collagen by Angie Tran, discovering a bizarre American phenomenon, deep fried butter. So this is from US, the Midwest. So, Angie Tran writes, tell me what keeps you up at night. Is it the creepy crawlies on your bedroom walls, readying their scrawny insect legs to pounce on you in your sleep, or the phosphorus pandemonium from your roommate's ninth Grand Prix round of Mario Kart? Or perhaps it's the 11 p.m. Red Bull you impulsively drank as an attempt to hydrate yourself after a long, tortuous day of seminars. You know what keeps me up at night? At the beginning of my transition from school in Vietnam to school in the United States, I was sent an accidental email from my high school's administration about the removal of my student account. As distressing of an experience this was for a naive 14-year-old international student, it was not as distressing as my discovery of Iowa State Fair's infamous deep fried butter. Deep fried butter. That's what keeps me up at night. All right. I mean, that seems like a little dramatic, right? I would say creepy crawlies, insects on your bedroom wall, definitely take it for me over deep fried butter. But continuing, distressing is probably an understatement. There are many words in the English dictionary I can think of to describe my feelings towards this popular American carnival food. Abysmal, revolting, offensive, and a crime against the food and beverage industry, maybe even humanity. Wow. Okay, look, Angie does not like her deep fried butter. Strange that there are people out there who are completely turned off by buttered frog legs or fresh oceanside sashimi, but are brought to so much jubilance by drenching spoonfuls of sugar syrup over sticks of greasy fried butter. You're trading off delicious protein for a spike in your cholesterol levels. It also says a lot about what your standards of food are. Wow, holy shit, Angie, chill. Let me give you a little history behind this quick trip to the ER concoction. Deep fried butter was created by Larry Fife to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Iowa State Fair's infamous life-size butter sculpture of a cow. Okay. We got life-size butter sculptures here. Okay. Which apparently attracts flocks of Americans every single year. Wow. Okay. Well, that better be one badass sculpture, right? Please tell me what is more stereotypically American than a bunch of people gathering at an annual fair to eat deep fried food and take pictures of butter animals. Described by the New York Times as an Iowa entrepreneur, Fife spent decades inventing and selling carnival treats from foot-long corn dogs to fried brownies. Not to discredit this guy's work at all. And I'm sure he probably is kind and fun-loving. After all, he is a carnival man. But please, Steve Jobs, who co-founded Apple, the world's first private sector company worth $1 trillion, is an entrepreneur. Indra Nooyi, CEO of PepsiCo and ranked by Forbes as one of the world's most powerful women, is an entrepreneur. If being an entrepreneur means throwing random fridge items in a batter and soaking them and splattering oil for 10 minutes, any home cook could be an entrepreneur. I don't think Angie knows what the word entrepreneur means, but we're going to forgive her. There is no dignified way to eat deep-fried butter, and there shouldn't be. Besides, oozing hot grease all over your already sweaty face and clothes from being out in the carnival sun all day, it will clog up every single one of your arteries that are probably already holding on for dear life. A rebuke of your decision to try it. You must accept that. Well, it's definitely not good for you. I firmly believe in the saying, don't knock it till you try it, except when it comes to fried butter. I don't care that it tastes like French toast or if it's on a stick or shaped into a cute little melon ball. I would not spend $4 for 5 years of my life expectancy, and neither should you. Wow. Well, it is delicious, though. I'll tell you what is delicious, though, and that is some deep-fried elitism. Oh, that is so funny. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, who is this? The Duke of Danville? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with that. Somebody else says, it's not elitism. I don't know. I was getting that. You know, I have to say, this article, out of all the different foods we tried, notice every single article we went over was very respectful of the cultures and very respectful of their chosen foods. But Angie Tran seems to not catch onto that train, so to speak. She's like, no, fuck that. Disrespect for this group of people here, these fat, ugly Americans and their deep fried butter. Yeah, to be honest, look, hey, I have actually seen deep fried butter at the fair. It is pretty common now amongst the Midwest. I don't know when this was written, 2021. Well, this is all over the place now. This isn't just Iowa. Like, I have seen it in Colorado. I haven't seen it in Wyoming as of yet. I'm sure nowadays, 4 years past this, it probably is. It's a cultural thing, dude. You know, I just find that hilarious that we got the college student here who's the only one out of every single thing. I mean, we went over fucking fish sperm, you guys. We went over cheese with maggots in it. And everybody who wrote a column found a way to be respectful to the culture they were writing about. And this little lady just throws a fucking shit attitude. Her entire, there were some funny things. They're like, yeah, it's definitely bad for you. I don't know why she has to throw in a whole paragraph about how the guy who invented it isn't an entrepreneur. But yeah, Angie needs to take a fucking chill pill and relax. Again, like I was saying earlier, these foods do represent people's cultures. And it's still funny to joke about them. It is. I mean, this can't be good for your arteries at all, you know. I don't know what Angie goes to school for, but she doesn't need to be going to school for a medical degree to know that this is definitely not good for you. But eating at one time is not going to kill you, and it's not going to take 5 years off of your life. And yeah, all in all, I did find it hilarious that this was the only article I could actually find that was so disrespectful. I love the Duke of Danville, though, who decided to call her out on her bullshit. That's pretty hilarious. So yeah, for those of you who don't want to be elitist pricks and act like you're better than everyone else, here is a video about butter on a stick. And to be honest, here's the thing. If I ever do go back to a state fair and they have deep fried butter, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it just to spite Angie Tranch because she can go fuck herself. But I'm also going to try it because I got to tell you, this video actually made it look like it wasn't too bad. Like, I hate to say it because it doesn't sound good. I put it on this list for a reason. When I originally heard deep fried butter, I was like, ooh, I don't know. And I eat deep fried testicles, man. So, you know, I'm like, I don't know about that one, man. Like, it's not as bad as maggot cheese, but it's a little much, right? It sounds like it's a little much. But, well, you know what? Let me switch to my YouTube screen, and you can decide for yourself. I will let you be the judge of if this sounds delicious or not. If this will go full screen. Is there, oh shoot. Hold on. We're getting a pause here. And in Apple, we would call this the pinwheel of death because it doesn't seem to want to work. That's fine. We can, let's see. If I shut down the program, oh yeah, if I shut down the program, I think that's going to shut down my Twitch. Right? I don't know, to be honest with you. We're going to have to do this real quick. Oh, geesh. That's a bummer. Yeah, I don't know if that shut down my Twitch or not. You guys might be there, you might not be. Let me go ahead and check real quick. Oh, look at that. We're still on. Crazy. Okay, cool. Let me put you up. Meow. Okay, yeah, occasionally this computer does that. It just has a moment where it's just like, oh, can't compute. You pressed a button. That fucked me up. And that's where we're at. So, but looks like we're still good. Okay. So we can hurry. Oh, now you want to restore. Gee, thank you. Oh, look at that. Okay, well, you restore. Okay, well,
Oh, no,
I
no,
take back
no.
my sarcastic thank you, computer. Yeah, we'll bring you back up over here. There you go.
Hold on to your hearts, folks, and make way for deep fried butter.
I'm going to put you guys in the full screen right here. Okay, so go ahead now. Full screen, give you the full cinematic experience. Let's see. Closed caption. Okay, short video. Check it out.
Hold on to your hearts, folks, and make way for deep fried butter. This inventive fair food started popping up around the country in 2009, but its popularity is still strong and ever growing. Get ready to eat your heart out. To get started, in a shallow dish, stir together 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon with 1/2 cup of light brown sugar. We have 3 sticks of cold butter that we've cut into 2 tablespoon sections. Dredge each butter piece in the cinnamon sugar to coat on all sides. Place the coated butter in a single layer on a parchment-lined sheet pan. You'll want to freeze this overnight so the butter is rock solid.
So that right there kind of changes a little bit of it. It isn't just butter deep fried. It's butter coated in sugar and cinnamon and then deep fried. That kind of changes it a
Once
tiny
the
bit.
butter is
Just a tiny
frozen,
bit.
we'll prepare the batter. In a bowl, stir together 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, if you wish, and 1 cup of flour. In a separate bowl, use an electric mixer to beat together 2 eggs, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 1 cup of buttermilk until smooth. Add in the dry ingredients and continue beating until the batter is smooth, 1 to 2 minutes. Add in another 1/2 cup of flour, a little at a time, just to reach the desired consistency, which should be like a thick pancake batter. Now we can heat a deep, heavy skillet or deep fryer with a quart of vegetable oil to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Remove the butter from the freezer, and working in batches, use a fork or a skewer to poke each butter piece and dip it into the prepared batter to coat evenly. Carefully lower the battered butter into the hot oil and fry, stirring often until golden brown and puffed, about 1 to 3 minutes. Drain on paper towels, sprinkle with confectioner's sugar, using about 1/4 cup total, and serve right away. You might want to stand back a few feet to make way for this oozing butter treat, and have the napkins ready.
Okay. This guy was some kind of salesman here. Very enthusiastic. That was All Recipes was the name of that channel. Pretty big channel, though. So they must have some good recipes there. But there's your recipe for making fried butter on a stick. And I gotta be honest, man, that doesn't look so bad. Okay, that wasn't what I was picturing when I thought of fried butter. We do have another burp, another recipe for fried butter on the stick. It's about the same though. Let's see how to choose the best ingredients for deep fried butter on a stick. Excuse me. Tips and tricks. Yeah, we just want to look at the ingredients. These guys use brown cane sugar, ground cinnamon. You know, you got your baking, you got the butter, obviously, flour, baking soda, salt, buttermilk, eggs, white sugar. So it's about the exact same recipe, right? So it doesn't really change. It's about the same everywhere you go. It's butter coated in sugar and cinnamon, and then deep fried in batter and coated with confectionery sugar. So there you have it, your deep fried butter. All right. Yeah, I would definitely try it, man. If I'm gonna try jellied moose nose, then yeah, I'll try deep fried butter. I am gonna. If next time I'm at a state fair, I think I'm gonna try it. Just give it a shot. Why not? You know, they deep fry everything at these state fairs. A lot of them. In Wyoming, I remember when I was a kid, it was very popular to deep fry Twinkies at the state fair. So I've had deep fried Twinkies, which I wasn't the biggest fan of because I don't particularly like Twinkies anyways. I'm not a huge like snack cake fan, you know, like Hostess stuff. I'm not a big fan of Hostess shit. I'll eat the powdered mini donuts. Those things are delicious. But other than that, not a big Hostess fan. Don't like my ding dongs or your bing bangs or whatever. Oh, I do love cosmic brownies. I'll eat the shit out of some cosmic brownies. I might eat a cosmic brownie when I go upstairs here in a minute. But so I've had deep fried Twinkies. That's definitely a thing in the fair. And then deep fried Snicker bars. And that was fucking delicious. That was really good. That was really, really good. I enjoyed the deep fried. They also had deep fried Twix, which I didn't get to try that because that would have also been, I love Twix over Snickers, but deep fried Snickers was just a little bit bigger. So I went with that and it was really good. I bet you deep fried Twix are delicious too. Any deep fried candy bar is probably delicious. I mean, again, it's just, you're asking for all kinds of fucking heart problems if you're eating that on a regular basis for certain. But if you're a moderately healthy person that doesn't eat that kind of shit all day and you eat it once in a blue moon, you're going to be fine. It's not going to kill you. Deep fried butter is a new one. I'm going to try it. I've had deep fried ice cream. They make deep fried ice cream at a local Mexican restaurant in the town that I come from. That's amazing. Best Mexican restaurant I've ever ate at. And their deep fried ice cream is just, so fucking good. But deep fried butter is a new one, but I'd try it. So there you have it. That is a list of, what was that, 7 or 8 of the oddest foods from around the world, right? And we did kind of center on some of the more Western cultures just because a lot of people tend to leave, you know, anytime it's an American making a video, they tend to usually leave American foods out. English people tend to leave English foods out that are kind of weird or goofy. So I thought I'd make this video kind of centered around those, throw in some Japanese food because I love Japanese food. So I threw in some Japanese food, threw in some Canadian foods there, the jellied moose nose. But yeah, there you have it. So there are some goofy ass foods from all around the way. Yeah, if this video, you find it on YouTube and you give it a like, if it gets enough likes, if people enjoy it, if I get some comments on it that they like it, and you know, if you watch this video to the very end and you think that you would like to see me do more videos like this, then hit me up in the comments and let me know, and then I will absolutely do a continuing of this series. I don't know if I'm going to be doing on Wildlife Wednesdays. Maybe I'll have to kind of tweak the setup a little bit, but we'll get there. We'll figure it out. Either way, yeah, if this does get a lot of people watching and a lot of people enjoy it, then I will definitely do another oddest foods from around the world because I enjoy researching this stuff. This was kind of fun to learn about. So yeah, and that gives you something to think about. Throw down in the comments what you think is the most disturbing of all of these foods and which ones you think would actually sound delicious, right? Let me know what you think. I remember last time I streamed, I actually had a chatter in called Adamant, I believe his name was, who was talking about, what was it, deep or cooked chicken hearts from Brazil. So we'll have to go over chicken hearts next time I do an odd foods from around the world. And he sent me a picture and it actually looked pretty delicious. Not going to lie. It actually looked really good. So anyways, yeah, let me know if you would enjoy a second installment of that and I can accommodate you. In the meantime, thank you to everybody who caught the stream. I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. I certainly enjoyed chatting with you guys tonight. In fact, I went a little bit over because I was having so much fun. If you see this video on YouTube, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. And check me out over on Twitch. Come join me live so you can sit and chat in the comment section with me, because that anytime I have a chatter in the comment section chatting and discussing these things with me, it's always a lot funner for me. I always have more fun when there's somebody else there to chat with, you know. So I always got my cutie pie to chat with. She chats me up every night, and I appreciate it. And she's always fun to chat with. But having other people to come in and give me their 2 cents is always a blast too. So if you're there on YouTube and you catch this video, check me out on Twitch. Come over and chat me up while we're having some conversations about different topics. Tomorrow is going to be Thursday. Normally, I would go over every Thursday on my channel is Conspiracy Theory Thursday. Tomorrow, I was going to cover the conspiracy theory Tupac Shakur is alive, but I'm actually going to save that for next month. Tomorrow, I'm going to switch over my Fridays, which is my Film Buff Fridays. Since I'm leaving Friday to spend the weekend with my parents for Easter, I'm going to take Friday stream and do it tomorrow on Thursday. And so tomorrow's stream will actually be my Film Buff Thursday, one-time deal. We'll be going over the 8 elements of film theory tomorrow. So that'll be a pretty entertaining one. I'm very excited to do that. I always love my Film Buff Fridays. So if you enjoy content on film and you're watching this live or a VOD on Twitch, come over and check me out. And we'll be discussing the 8 elements of film theory to help make you a better film critic. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Cool Beans Hot Stuff. Give us a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. A follow if you're on Twitch. And hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow for some Film Buff stuff. So thank you very much. Talk to you then.